local indigenous tribes began advocating for the removal of the dams, then owned by the power company Pacificor. Given they only generated around 1.5% of the company's power, Pacificor realised it would be cheaper to decommission the dams than refurbish them. The KRRC was created in 2016 to deliver the dam's removal and restoration of the river. The estimated cost was $450 million, funded by Pacificor and the states of California and Oregon. But it's been a rocky road, with various concerns raised about the impact on the environment and locals. There was a lot of misinformation, says Wren, who isn't Indigenous herself, but grew up on the river. Like arguments that the dams provided irrigation or drinking water and flood control. They didn't. They just generated power. Whilst a fund was set up to offset any property damage caused by the dam's removal, there was no compensation for declining property values or losing access to the waterfront. Today, Copco Lake Township, which developed around one of the artificial dam-created lakes, is full of for sale signs, and the general store remains closed. The draining of the reservoirs also saw some 2,000 acres of land re-emerge, which was returned to the Shasta Indian Nation, and a huge revegetation project began. It now looks like the first growth after a landslide, although some more mature trees have been planted after being flown in by helicopter. New challenges have emerged too, as whitewater recreationists seek access to the river through tribal land, some of which is closed during traditional ceremonies. In native circles, we say that water is life, says Sammy Joe DeFantorum of the Shasta Nation. It sustains us. The same with the fish, so we have a very personal relationship with both. When the dams were built, the reservoirs inundated our villages, and we lost ceremonial sites and burial sites. But last June, we had our salmon calling ceremony at a traditional area, she says, referring to the practice of welcoming the salmon back to their spawning ground with drumming and prayers. It was the first time in 4 generations, Sammy Joe went on. For a native person, having our traditional ceremony, that's everything. That season, coho salmon made it to the uppermost streams to breed for the first time in 60 years, she went on. On the river, we raft through the gates of a gorge where the final dam was removed in late 2024 into Kikiseki Canyon. When the dams were here, it was dry, as the water was routed to the hydropower station in a pipe. Now, it's the wildest rapid on the Klamath, and our boat plunges and soars over the waves, crashing into the water until I'm absolutely drenched. A bald eagle soars between the basalt columns of the gorge, and I spot deer tracks at the water's edge as we pass out the other side. The dams are gone, and all the people of the Klamath, like the river itself, are charting a path through new territory.
Ash Bardwaj. That's all for this programme. Thank you for listening. I'm Pascal Harter. The producer was Polly Hope, and we'll be back next weekend for more stories of the lives behind the global headlines here on the BBC World Service.
That was the BBC.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio, and we're live in downtown Winnipeg in our CBC Studio 15 on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. We're on air with you till 8:37 AM. It is now 3 minutes to 6 o'clock. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Sticky out there, very, very windy, and that wind continues this morning, actually. Let's say hello to our team. There's Abby Adeyemi in the bright yellow. Good morning, Abby. Abby's behind the controls of the show, and we'll also be covering the forecasts. There's Sierra Sanders, who's directing this morning. Hi, Sierra. Sierra's going to be on the air covering the commute. And Mr. Darren Marash is also in. Please say hello to him if you're watching the show stream live on YouTube. He is our producer of that stream. All right, Heather Wells here to start the show officially with our news headlines from CBC and what developed over the weekend. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, an emergency doctor says governments could be doing more to address a rise in drug overdoses. Health Canada says in this country, about 20 people die from opioid-related causes every day. Vancouver doctor Andrew Kessler is working with 12 ER departments across the country on how to care for opioid users. And he says what others have said, naloxone kits aren't as effective because of contaminants in the drug supply. Well, it was a sea of color in downtown Winnipeg yesterday. Organizers estimate 15 1,000 people walked in yesterday's Pride Parade in Winnipeg. We're going to take you there coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Beautiful rainbow. Today in Winnipeg, mainly cloudy, clearing this afternoon, the high 27. As I mentioned, winds will stay strong, south 30 to 50. In other cities in Manitoba, Brandon over to the west, clearing this morning, wind southwest 30 to 50, high 22. So similar, but a little bit cooler in terms of the temperature. And then up in Thompson, some showers, but those should end near noon. And then some clearing, but a risk of a thunderstorm still with you this morning and a high of 23. In the show today, we are going to be talking about the app that matches job seekers, construction job seekers with potential employers. It's built off of a website as well that has had some success in Manitoba, so stay tuned. We'll hear more about that. Also, we are going to be talking about cotton candy bouquets, roller coaster and helicopter rides. What else do you need for a marriage on the Midway? We're going to meet a couple that's getting married at the Red River X. They won a contest and they met there years ago.
On cue. Abel Salaucha has spent his life feeling like he existed in two worlds. I mean, he was raised in a rural South African town, but also spent years studying classical music at an elite British music school. So Abel will be here with his cello to tell you how he uses that tension in his music.
I think I'm only in the environments that would like me there.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Iran and Israel are exchanging new strikes. Sirens sound across Jerusalem. Israel says it intercepted several missiles fired by Iran. The IDF says it targeted military operations in central and western Iran.
این هست که مسئولیت آمریکا
Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says the U.S. is responsible for this escalation in attacks, adding the actions of Israel cannot be separated from U.S. policies. Houthi rebels in Yemen are also firing on Israel.
قامت القوات المسلحة اليمنية بإطلاق دفعة صاروخية.
A Houthi spokesperson confirmed the strikes. The Iran-backed rebel group says it's also banning any Israeli movement in the Red Sea. U.S. President Donald Trump says Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting. On social media this morning, Trump showed his dissatisfaction with the renewed fighting, but he is also expressing some new optimism. The CBC's Chris Reyes is following the latest from New York. And Chris, what more can you tell us?
President Trump just posted on social media claiming that Israel and Iran are looking to do an immediate ceasefire. Trump said that peace negotiations are proceeding and wrote that the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports will remain in place until a final deal is reached. Trump wrote things should move quickly. Now, prior to that, he also posted on social media demanding that both sides stop shooting. According to several reports, Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke on Sunday, with Trump asking Netanyahu to stop retaliating against Iran. There are also reports that diplomats in the region have urged the Trump administration to pressure Israel to rein in its strikes on Iran and Beirut. Mediators who have been leading talks between the U.S. and Iran in Pakistan are said to be furious over Israeli strikes on Sunday, which took place as Pakistan's interior minister was in Tehran attempting to advance the negotiations. Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, who is in Jerusalem, also posting on social media in the early hours of today. Huckabee said he's sheltering and hearing loud booms overhead. He wrote, "Another day we live under threat of a crazed Iranian regime."
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
The CBC's Chris Reyes in New York. The renewed fighting between Israel and Iran is affecting oil prices. A barrel of Brent crude jumped to more than $97. Brent is the international benchmark. That cost is well above pre-war prices. The latest fighting also caused European markets to dip. Some investors are worried the price increase could push up inflation. More than 30 people are dead after an earthquake rocked the southern Philippines. The seismic event was off the coast of Mindanao Island. It collapsed buildings and triggered a landslide. As Patrick Falk reports, the quake also caused tsunami warnings as far away as Japan.
The moment the earthquake toppled a shopping center in General Santos in the Philippines' southern Mindanao Island. In a clip posted on social media, a scream as it came crashing down. Reports say dozens of buildings have collapsed. The quake struck early in the morning. Among the dead, 2 people that were crushed by a falling wall. Elsewhere, an abandoned building at a school crumpled as children watched. A series of powerful shocks continued to rock the area 2 hours after the initial trembler. The Philippines sits on an arc of intense seismic activity known as the Pacific Ring of Fire. Dozens of people were killed and tens of thousands of buildings were destroyed in a series of quakes that hit the country last October. Patrick Falk, for CBC News, Singapore.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is in North Korea. He is on a rare visit for talks with President Kim Jong-un. The meeting is expected to reinforce ties between the 2 communist nations, and discussions may look at boosting bilateral trade. China is North Korea's most important economic ally. It is Xi's first official visit to North Korea in 7 years and his first trip outside China in 2026. Canada will have a new Governor General today. This morning, former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will be officially sworn in at a ceremony in Ottawa. Arbour succeeds Mary Simon, who just finished her term as the country's first Indigenous Governor General. Janice McGregor is following this for us from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, what do we know so far about how Arbour will approach this role?
On the day, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced Louise Arbour as his pick. A reporter asked how someone who's sat as a Supreme Court judge, prosecuted war crimes internationally, was going to adjust to a more ceremonial role, shaking hands, presenting medals. Arbour said she was serene and enthusiastic about representing Canada, and that, well, yes, it's different from her past work. Those medal ceremonies, they celebrate what makes us human. And she respects that not all Canadians were fans of her judicial decisions, but in her new role, she'll be there to listen.
I will reach out not only to those who agree with me. The kind of cheerleading mode, I think, is not always conducive to change and to progress.
And Mark Carney said that day, should Canada find itself in a constitutional crisis, the country's going to be lucky to have someone with her clarity and moral judgment. And he's looking forward to his private conversations with her on serious issues.
Arbour is the first GG appointed during King Charles' reign. She's also from Quebec, a province with historically less affection for the monarchy. What signals has she sent on that front?
She's been asked straight up in French if she's a monarchist. And she said that's a term that's unfortunately often used in a pejorative way. Now, saying that got mixed reviews among Canadians who are proud and enthusiastic monarchists. She also said that Canada's system of constitutional monarchy has served it well, especially in recent decades. She's taking on a role that provides continuity for democratic institutions. She's mindful of the legacy she steps into. And if the country does face adversity during her time, she said it'll be her privilege to serve.
Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will push a message of unity in Calgary today. The speech is part of his campaign to convince Albertans to remain in Canada. Poilievre also plans to call on Alberta to join fellow provinces to demand more from Ottawa. An excerpt from his speech was provided to CBC News. In it, Poilievre says Albertans have been demanding the unblocking of resources and pipelines and respect for provincial autonomy. This fall, Albertans will vote on whether they want the province to hold a binding referendum on separating from Canada. A Nova Scotia man is blaming TD Bank for thousands of dollars taken from his account. He says he was hacked, and he wants to know why the financial institution will not look into his claims. Erica Johnson has more in this Go Public investigation.
I am totally frustrated, totally angry.
Shakir Ahmed can't believe he's on the hook, $15,000 in debt, after someone made 10 transfers from his line of credit. A devastating loss, he says, almost 1/3 of his salary.
I am not like a high-income guy. We have mortgage, car payment, kids.
TD says his IP address was used, codes to approve the transactions sent. But Ahmed, who does payroll for the Maritime Coast Guard, says not so.
I did not receive anything.
Bank records show he usually only sends small transfers, never in the thousands, and not from his line of credit. Strong indicators the e-transfers were out of character, says cybersecurity expert Claudio Popa.
The argument being that he did this intentionally doesn't hold up. And if he did it negligently, then we have not been presented with the information.
Popa says Canada lags behind other countries for fraud protection, like the UK, Singapore, and Australia, where banks have to reimburse customers if they can't prove gross negligence. We asked Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne why the government ignored recent calls for similar protections from consumer groups, even the banking ombudsman. He didn't answer the question.
Well, we're going to be consulting.
TD wouldn't say what evidence it has Ahmed's account wasn't hacked and has started clawing back monthly payments from Ahmed, including interest. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
And there's more on this story at cbcnews.ca on our main page. And you can also see links to stories about fraud and other scams. That story on our main page, cbcnews.ca. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, after a hot, sticky weekend and a lot of wind, we're going to have much of the same across southern Manitoba, at least today. A little bit of shower activity in the province as well. Welcome to Monday morning. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC. You're with Information Radio, the morning show on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Well, just like that, more to talk about NASA. As you heard, the moonshot's entering its next phase. We'll look ahead to tomorrow's announcement around the Artemis 3 and the astronauts that may be heading up. Stay tuned. Also, locally, you might have heard of the online dating app Tinder. Well, now there's an app in development that kind of works like that. It matches job seekers with potential employers in construction fields. It started as a website, it had lots of success, and now it's moving to an app. We're going to hear more about it. That's coming up first on Information Radio. And then a little bit of the Pride excitement. Stay tuned. Heather Wells is going to join us in a moment. And Heather's here with headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, experts are calling for a crackdown on so-called chameleon carriers after a fatal Brandon crash earlier this spring. Conquer Transport lost its safety license in Manitoba in 2021. The following year, it registered in Alberta. Alberta recently assessed this company as one of the highest risk of more than 18,000 carriers. We'll have more on that. And as Manitoba moves toward a ban on social media and artificial intelligence chatbots for those under 16, a Winnipeg teacher wants to see guidelines from the province on teaching students about AI. Donovan Ponce at General Wolfe School says education around what a chatbot is and how to use them responsibly is key. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
So, Heather, we have a Pride item coming up later. What was the number you said of how many people were there for the parade yesterday in Winnipeg?
Yes, hang on
15,000, I think you said?
15,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a huge number of people.
And the photos, the video is also colorful and fun.
Yeah, I'm guessing there was a ton of water too because it was crazy yesterday.
It was so hot.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was out early in the morning golfing and it wasn't as bad, the wind. And as soon as the wind stopped, it was like, whoa. So I was just thinking about all those folks and walking in Pride. Today, it's going to be windy again. Abby, good morning to you.
Good morning, Marcy. Yeah, we're going to see more like a morning of transitions across the province. We're waking up to cloudy conditions. It's going to be clearing as we get into the afternoon for the southern regions. While the northern regions, we're still seeing lingering showers and potential thunderstorms in some areas. Here in Winnipeg, we're beginning the day with mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures sitting at 23 already. We're noticing some breezy conditions coming from the south. Expect these clouds to stay with us for some time before clearing out around your lunch break into the afternoon period as as we climb towards a warm high of 27. But Marcy, the UV index is on the high side today. It's around 8 plus. So hydrate. It's going to feel muggy once things starts to warm up. And similar conditions we're seeing across southern regions. We're already seeing temperatures close to 23 across board. Up north, even into the Lynn Lake area, we're seeing 23s there, but we saw light rain there earlier. It stopped for now. Now we have cloudy conditions. And then if you look towards Churchill and Tuduli Lake, we have mist and hazy conditions in that part of the province with temperatures around 5 and 2 degrees. So take it easy. Right now, Winnipeg, we are at 23. We'll warm to 27 later.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Abby Adiemi on weather. And on traffic, briefly, Sierra Sanders is in.
Good morning, Marcy. Not hearing about any major backups right now. The commuter line's pretty quiet at this hour of the morning. But just a highway closure to note, Highway 10 from Highway 366 to Renwer is now closed, and that is due to flooding there. And that closure is located east of Swan River. So just a highway closure there if you are out on the highways this morning. But the number to call if there is something getting in your way is 204-788-3093.
Well, as I mentioned, there is an app in development that'll match job seekers with employers for work called Mi'kmaq Connect. It's based on an already existing website by the Southern Chiefs Organization. So the website launched in 2024. And up early this Monday to tell us about it, Peter Simchuk is here, Director of Economic Development for the SCO. And thanks so much for being with us, Peter. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here.
So tell me a little bit about, first of all, the website and where the need for that came from.
We started off with having the issue of hiring a lot of workers at one time when we started our Waybene Begakanagan project. And the way we thought of hiring a lot of workers with different skills, different trades, was to develop a program. And what we did was we actually launched our platform and our worker recruitment in March of 2024. So it was very slow start, but it picked up a lot of speed from March 2025 to 2026. We actually ended up hiring a lot of workers, and we also found that the platform was really taking off. And right now we're just making improvements on the platform, but we've put a lot of people to work, especially our SCO communities.
Yeah. Now, I was looking at the Waybene project, of course, is the former Hudson Bay building downtown. And I was looking at some of the numbers. Is it right that you have now 20 companies on the platform and just over 1,200 for the year in 2026? If you look at
yes,
that's amazing.
Yes.
Is it all construction workers that you're trying to pair people with, Peter, in this in the platform?
Yeah, at this point it is. But we've been asked many times to include other projects. Like I did meet with 1911 Gold and Bissett. We're talking about getting into the mining and also into mainstream work like admin support and stuff like that. Like we're slowly expanding it. Like right now we're basically at 1.0, but we are improving our platform, and that's well on its way. And once that platform is improved, I think it'll make it a lot easier for construction companies to navigate through that platform.
Yeah, and for workers to find work. You said it started with some of your communities, but this is actually open to the entire community now. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. We have 63 different communities that are registered on the platform from Manitoba and parts of Saskatchewan.
Tell me a bit about the app and how is it in development, and if so, when do you hope it'll be up and running, and how will it actually work to pair workers and companies?
So right now the platform is running. We've got about 35 workers that are actually working on that are part of the app, and we are looking at improving the platform. Like right now, we don't have, like, we're trying to improve an app that construction supervisors and can use out on the field instead of going onto the platform, going into their office and logging in. What they could do is they can just do that from the field with their workers.
And some of the needs on that app, I understand, are for workers want easy ways to log hours, which might help if you're in the field, as you're saying, rather than having to go back and forth. What about the screening process for job seekers and employers? And there's a rating system on there, I heard?
Yeah, the rating system is more to help us. It just so we know, it's based on mostly if the worker's showing up and what kind of attitude they have on the job site and stuff like that, just so we know, as we really wanted, like I was doing a monthly report on all our workers that are going onto our site. And that rating system it's not it doesn't stop workers from working. All it does is gives us a clear idea on how our workers are doing.
It may give some motivation, I guess, too, if to come, to come if you're keeping track of people's attendance. It would for me, for sure. What's the response been like from community members as well, and from those who have used the app as employees?
I've had a lot of different stories. One of the interesting one was from Rosa River when one of the ladies moved to Winnipeg and called us about work, and we got her to work. And then their cousins from Rosa River were moving into the city with them, I guess, to support each other on rent and stuff like that. And we ended up having three of the community members on. And we've heard too that if you're moving to Winnipeg, get a hold of McKenna Connect. And so it's been really good for word of mouth.
No doubt.
Sure.
No doubt. How great is the need, just before you go this morning, for these types of workers in Manitoba when you think about the different areas that are growing? You were talking about what you're getting into here.
Oh, well, the need for workers that are coming, I think mainly we have situations where the worker does not know how to look for work and doesn't know how. We try to help them out by having a Wednesday morning orientation where we bring in a bunch of workers. Usually we'll look at 5 to 10 workers and we do about a 2-hour orientation on, how it is to work in construction and also what they need, their safety equipment. And we describe how the platform works for them, that when they're using it, that they understand how it works. And we try our best to try to help. We even have some workers that come into our office and we help them navigate through the platform.
That's fantastic, Peter. Thanks for telling us about it. Good luck with growing it into the next steps. Appreciate you being up early on a Monday morning.
Okay, thank you.
You take care.
Yeah, you too.
That's Peter Simchuk with us, Director of Economic Development for the Southern Chiefs Organization, talking about their website and the app that they've started recently to connect construction workers across the province and others with different employers that are looking for workers. If you want to check out Mi'kmaq Connect, you can go through the SCO's website.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
6:23 a.m. Beautiful sunrise this morning. Like the sky was almost a pure red over the horizon. Just beautiful. Well, it wasn't that long ago where we put our eyes to the skies to capture the adventures of Artemis 2.
Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Same, and it is so great to hear from Earth again. We are looking back at you. We hear you can look up and see the moon right now. We see you too.
2 months ago, and now NASA is at it again. Tomorrow, as you might have been hearing on World Report, they're going to announce the next group of astronauts who will be launching into space as part of the Artemis 3 mission. But this time, they won't go to the moon. So what are they doing? Let's find out. Andrew Fazakis is with us, science writer and regular on CBC Radio. Hi, Andrew.
Good morning.
So what is NASA accomplishing with Artemis 3?
Yeah, so it's really a testing of the landing architecture of the Artemis program. So they're going to be the idea of Artemis 3 originally. If we were up until the end of last year, we were thinking that Artemis 3 would be the one that lands on the moon, but they've rejigged it. NASA has decided to insert a new test mission before actually attempting that land, and testing specifically of the 2 private lunar landers that NASA wants to have for their Artemis program. So one is made by SpaceX, the other by Blue Origin, 2 private companies that have multi-billion-dollar contracts with NASA. And this is really this test mission that Artemis 3 is going to take place in low Earth orbit. So there'll be a crew of 4 astronauts in the Orion capsule, the same one that we saw them use a couple of months ago to go around the moon. That Orion capsule will be tested to see if it can dock, how it docks with the lunar landers from SpaceX and Blue Origin in low Earth orbit. So this mission is very much, you can think of it like the Apollo 9, kind of very much in that spirit, where they tested the lunar module in Earth orbit before attempting their Apollo 11 historic mission.
So what they're testing in terms of the docking would actually on the actual mission happen further into space. They're testing this at a...
Exactly. So what they're going to be testing with these lunar landers are the same steps that the astronauts on Artemis 4 in 2028 will be doing when they're in orbit around the moon, when they reach the moon. So basically what you'll see is the Orion space capsule and the lunar lander together going to the moon, and they'll be docked together. Mm-hmm. The astronauts will transfer from the Orion capsule to the lunar lander.
Got it.
And then go down to the moon. That's what we want to do on Artemis 4.
Got it.
And so they want to test that whole docking and undocking of the 2 spacecrafts in Earth orbit, where it's much safer to be close to home than, say, 400,000 kilometers away from our planet.
You mentioned SpaceX and Blue Origin's involvement. What's your sense about why private enterprises become so involved? Is this about the dollars or the expertise that they've been gaining?
There's a lot. NASA doesn't want to be in the business of building all the hardware itself, every piece, and the model is that they want to, they're going to set the safety standards. All the mission requirements have to be set by NASA, but it's the private companies that build, the major transportation systems. This model has worked very well for NASA with SpaceX. We see SpaceX being the taxi service for crew and cargo to and from the International Space Station. So we know that model works, and now they want to apply that to their Artemis moon program. So they've selected Blue Origin and SpaceX to build out the rockets, the booster rockets, and the lunar lander systems. So the benefit is that they get a lot of speed for NASA, the speed in development. They get competition, which also lowers the price because NASA is a federal agency. It relies on tax dollars, so money saving is important as well. But the downside here is that now NASA is completely tied to these 2 private companies onto their very ambitious kind of private landing systems that they're developing. And are they going to be ready on time? Because in a year from now, we should be testing these in low Earth orbit on Artemis 3 when it launches.
Will a Canadian be on board? Do we have a sense of that? Or will any of the original crew be on board because they've already done this once? Or do you think that we're going to have all new astronaut names announced?
I'm thinking there'll be an all new set. There's a lot of the technical experience within the astronaut corps of NASA is very deep. Canada would probably, my guess, this is just a personal guess. I don't have any insider information, but my guess is that we've already been on Artemis 2. We'll probably be, Canada will get another ticket maybe when we're building the lunar base. I'm actually quite sure because Canada has a very heavy involvement in the Artemis program, in the space robotics of the program. So we'll get a ticket later, but my guess is that this crew of 4, really they're going to be mostly chosen for their technical abilities of having been in space multiple times and have that ability to dock. The docking, the connecting of the spacecrafts is a very technically challenging, especially when you have 2 of them, 2 landers that they want to dock with. That's never been done before.
All right, we'll leave it there this morning and we'll see what happens tomorrow with this exciting announcement. Thank you very much for being with us. As always, appreciate you.
My pleasure. Clear skies.
So that's with us live this morning, science writer and CBC regular contributor, Andrew Fazekas. He's the author of National Geographic Stargazer's Atlas, The Ultimate Guide to the Night Sky. So tomorrow we'll find out who those astronauts are. They'll name them, and we will cover that. Let's cover commute right now. We have one thing to tell you about Highway 10 to 366, closed due to flooding. So that's just east of Swan River. And coming up on business news, the Bank of Canada is going to make its next rate decision this week. We'll find out more about what is going to be expected with Christalee Ramlakan. In addition, Christalee is going to be covering a group of stories about airlines that are canceling flights. So she'll run through that. And then a nostalgic drink is going to make its way back to Canadian shelves. And we just covered the fact that it was leaving. So stay tuned. Christalee Ramlakan has those stories coming up after your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is cloudy for the most part, 22 right now. We'll see the sky begin to clear this afternoon. Still windy, still very warm. The wind today, south 30, gusting to 50, with a high this afternoon of 27. A fatal semi-truck crash in Brandon is igniting concern about so-called chameleon carriers. They're trucking companies that restart in a new province after getting a bad safety rating. Conquer Transportation registered in Alberta after losing its Manitoba safety certificate in 2021. It has since been assessed as one of the highest risk transport companies in Alberta. Last month, a woman died after the driver of one of the company's truck allegedly failed to stop at a stop sign in Brandon, hitting her SUV. The former owner, Paramjit Daliwal, says he hasn't been involved with the company since 2021.
Big machinery, lots of things, something is wrong, too much inspection. They said, no, you have to lose the safety rating. So I am fed up and close everything.
He says his son and daughter-in-law set up Conquer's operations in Alberta in 2022. The Alberta government's carrier profile for Conquer shows several infractions since then, including 6 convictions across 3 provinces. As Manitoba moves towards a ban of social media and artificial intelligence chatbots for those under 16, a Winnipeg teacher wants to see guidelines from the province on teaching students about AI. Donovan Ponce is a grade 7 STEM teacher at General Wolfe School. He says education around what a chatbot is and how to use them responsibly is key.
That's going to be one of the biggest things that we have to educate students on, just because AI is found in so many different apps now and different devices.
Ponce says he takes a human-led approach when introducing AI tools like chatbots at school. Manitoba's Premier Wab Kinew says the province is investing in the provincial agency supporting technology in schools, and he says he is open to the development of AI tools for class if they're safe. Emergency departments all over Canada are trying to figure out how to handle the opioid crisis. It is being talked about at a national conference now in Winnipeg. Vancouver emergency physician Andrew Kessler says the drug situation is bad right across the country.
There's sort of new contaminants in the drug supply, and so people are maybe overdosing more often and then having a more profound overdose that maybe doesn't respond to the naloxone, the Narcan that they're getting. It's sort of, I know ambulance services are stressed. It's a national problem.
Health Canada says every day across the country, about 20 people died in opioid-related overdoses. One person is dead and many others hospitalized after a series of fires in Winnipeg over the weekend. Firefighters found the body of one person after responding to a fire at an apartment building on Ross Avenue Friday night. Several hours later, 3 people were taken to hospital after a blaze on a home on Flora Avenue. And the city says another fire Saturday night at a rooming house on Redwood sent 2 others, including a firefighter, to hospital. In the Philippines, at least 19 people are dead following a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. Children at a school in southern Philippines, as that quake hit the island of Mindanao, several buildings have been destroyed. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is telling people in coastal areas to head to higher ground. There was warnings of a tsunami. The earthquake is the largest so far this year in the Philippines. Canada's next Governor General is being installed today. Former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will be the 31st representative of the Crown, replacing Mary Simon. Arbour will be sworn in during a special ceremony in the Senate chamber in Ottawa. Formalities include a 21-gun salute and musical performances by Canadian artists. Arbour, who is 79, will give her first address to the nation, in which she is expected to outline her priorities for her time in office. And CBC Radio will have special live coverage of the ceremony beginning at 9 o'clock Central Time. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Well, thousands wearing bright colors flooded downtown Winnipeg yesterday. Winnipeg's annual Pride Parade, people making their way from outside the Manitoba legislature to the Forks. Pedro Ribeiro de Sena has been coming to the Pride Parade with family for years.
It feels very reassuring to know that I can be whoever I want, become whoever I want, and I still have my support in my home.
Organizers estimate about 15,000 people walked in yesterday's parade. They're also planning to add another day of festivities next year to mark celebrations of Pride's 40th year in Winnipeg. You can see some of those photos of the Pride Parade as well as other stories. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, it sure was hot and sticky. It often is for that parade. Let's find out about today. Here's Abby with your forecast.
Yeah, Marcy. Today brings more like warm conditions to start the day. Most of the regions already in their 20s, crawling close to mid-20s as we speak. We're seeing cloudy conditions start in the south. That should clear, while up north we're still noticing showers in some areas. Forecast for the city and nearby areas in the Red River Valley region right now. We're looking at cloudy skies. That should clear as we get into the afternoon. We're going to notice the winds coming from the south, mostly cloudy. We get to a high of 23 currently 23 at this time. We get to a high of 27 later today. And tomorrow we might get to see a high of 29, which would be also humid. From Morden towards Port La Prairie, we're seeing 21 at this time. Also cloudy skies clearing with windy high of 28 in the forecast. Brandon all the way towards Nipah 17 at this time. You get to a high of 22, while from Dauphin towards the Russell Roblin area, we're looking at 18 degrees at this time, warming up to 22. Gimli, good morning. You're currently at 24. You're also warming up into that 26, 27 later in the day. The Power Flin Flon, we're seeing 17 degrees in that part of the province. That should clear to about 21 later in the day. In the Norway House area, we're already getting some sunny conditions at 18 degrees. The highest there would be around 20, while for Thompson, we're seeing around 17 degrees, warming to 23. Then for the Lynn Lake area, we're looking at 16 degrees. Clear skies, you do have, you see highs around 22. Gillam is at 15 degrees, facing some showers at this time. You warm up to a humid high of 23 later. Tuduli Lake, hazy conditions still continues there. temperatures around 4 degrees. Also showers in the forecast. You climb to 15 later, while Churchill and the York region sits at 2 degrees with some misty conditions. Expecting showers also today. High would be around 10 degrees. But for Winnipeg right now, we are at 23. We're warming to 27 later in the day.
Whew!
Yes,
Sticky.
Yep.
All right. Not a lot going on in traffic. Thank you, Abby. Sierra's come in, though, to remind us of the number, I guess.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet so far on the commuter line. Not hearing about anything too major getting in folks' way this morning. But if there is something that pops up and that changes, give me a call. That number is 204-788-3093.
So I know that yesterday I was golfing, but it was early in the morning, so it was not so bad until the end of the round. You played soccer in that?
Yeah, I was playing soccer. What was our time? 3:30. I was playing soccer. It was a doozy.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it. It was hot.
I know. And then you get off and you have a shower and you're just like finished.
I had a great sleep last night. I fell asleep super easily, which when you have work these shifts sometimes and you don't do them regularly, it can be a little tough to kind of regulate get to sleep because your body is on a completely different schedule. But thankfully, it did help, which I didn't really think in the moment was not very fun. But thanks for helping me get to sleep, I guess.
Hot soccer.
Exactly.
Holy moly. You're going to need a lot of water if you're out there today. Thank you. It's been crazy, with the heat. I'm surprised we actually haven't had more concerning stories. So obviously we understand what that's like, even though it's a little early, Manitoba. Let's get into what's happening in business news with Crystalie Ramlakan. She's here via Zoom. Hello to you.
Hey, good morning, Marcy.
So let's start with the Bank of Canada. They're making their next interest rate decision this week. What are we expecting?
Yes, so economists predict the central bank will hold its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.25% for the fifth straight time on Wednesday. Now, economic data has not been particularly optimistic. The latest GDP data indicated the country is in a technical recession, but Friday's jobs report has somewhat balanced that out. So the economy added 88,000 jobs and unemployment went down. And the bank's messaging could also shed some light on how it is navigating these ongoing geopolitical uncertainties that we're seeing in the world. So Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem has said monetary policy may need to be nimble with the war in Iran's effects on energy prices and the outcome of the upcoming review of the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. And just today, the restart of fighting between Israel and Iran is affecting oil prices. Brent crude has jumped to about $97 a barrel. And the latest conflict is also causing some world shares to drop. So some investors are worried increases in energy prices could push up inflation.
To another story this morning, some airlines are canceling flights.
Yes, that's right. So Sunwing Vacations Group, which includes WestJet Vacations, is suspending its Cuba operations indefinitely. So this announcement comes after in April, the group canceled all service to Cuba from June 20th to October 9th. But now we're seeing that it's expanding that for the foreseeable future. And Sunwing did not cite the ongoing fuel shortage in Cuba as the specific reason for the suspension, but it did reference the hardships that locals are facing. So it did say it's mindful of the challenges currently facing local communities, tourism workers, and industry partners who rely on the sector. But Canada's major airlines did initially suspend flights to Cuba in February when airports there warned they were running out of jet fuel. So the U.S. capture of the Venezuelan president at the time, Nicolas Maduro, dried up shipments of oil to Cuba, effectively cutting off supply of aviation gas and fuel for its electrical grid. And the country's energy minister said last month the island had completely run out of diesel and oil. Now, Air Transat service to Cuba also remains suspended until the end of October, and packages to the island are not currently available for sale. And Sunwing says guests with existing trips to Cuba will be contacted with options, including rebooking to a different destination or taking a full refund. But a huge hit, obviously, to Cuba's tourism sector there, and just the country overall, of course, what they're going through there.
Absolutely, yeah. And switching gears here before you go this morning, a nostalgic drink that we just had in the news is now coming back to Canadian shelves.
Yeah, that's right. So frozen canned juice from concentrate is set to return to one of Canada's largest retailers. So Loblaws no-name brand is bringing the drinks back. And the new assortment includes white lemonade, pink lemonade, limeade, grape punch, fruit punch, and berry punch. And the new products are expected before the end of June. So I guess right as lemonade stand season is starting to ramp up. So the relaunch comes months after Coca-Cola discontinued its Minute Maid frozen juices. So at the time, the beverage giant's plant in Peterborough, Ontario, was the only producer still selling the concentrated products into the Canadian market. So other brands had been discontinued for years, and makers were saying, demand had waned. And frozen juice from concentrate was invented more than 80 years ago, but lost popularity over the decades. So the upcoming no-name juice will not come from a Canadian supplier, though. Loblaw says there is no manufacturer producing frozen juice concentrate Canada right now. And some Metro-owned store brands are also beginning to list frozen concentrate, months after the retailer said it was considering options to replace the discontinued product. And an industry source tells CBC a Canadian company may be re-entering the frozen juice market, but details aren't available yet.
I'm mindful of frozen juice, and I never bought it in years. Of course, I'm nostalgic about it, and I kind of, now that when it was announced it was going away, then I wanted it. We'll have to see if the market will react that way, though, when they bring it back.
Yeah, that's right. And, you can use it for slushy drinks in the summer.
Punch, yep.
Yeah, and also when you have like a big group, it's very economical because it's, cheaper than buying jugs of juice.
Yeah, it totally is. All right, Crystalie, thank you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
Crystalie Ramlakan live on CBC This Morning with our business news. Well, still ahead in this half hour, speaking of looking for things that are economical, beef prices have been soaring for years, but unfortunately now it's chicken's turn. We're going to talk to an expert about the supply and demand factors at play and what's been going on with the cost of chicken. Time right now is 6:44 a.m. It is mostly cloudy in downtown Winnipeg, and it's 22 degrees. Winds are southwest at 50 and a high of 27 today. Brandon, mostly cloudy, 17 right now. Thompson's also at 17 degrees. Well, as you were hearing in the news, what a turnout for Pride yesterday in downtown Winnipeg. Rainbows, drag queens, and music. 15,000 people filled the streets as people took part in the parade for Pride Week and Pride Month. For many, it was a fun time. But for others, of course, it had much deeper meaning. The CBC's Gavin Axelrod spoke to a few of those Manitobans who were out.
So my first name is Felix. My last name is Yaboa. My favorite part about it is loving ourselves, caring for each other, and also looking out for each and everyone, yeah.
I'm wondering, how long have you been here in Winnipeg for?
So I've been in Winnipeg for about 3 years now. Okay. Yeah.
What's different about being here and being who you are versus maybe back home from where you're from?
Well, I'm not gonna say much about back home, right? Yeah. But being here, you don't have to live looking at your shoulders and all that. And yeah, you can be happy, you can be open about whatever you belongs to, and nobody's gonna stop you from that.
How does that feel to just be like your most authentic?
Very good. You feel like a human once again.
My name is Dayton Aramini Brown.
Brendan, same last name.
It's a different vibe here. Every year we come. We travel about 3 hours to get here, so it's our 5th year coming together. So it kind of opens up our year to just be happier and more ourselves.
Yeah. Where are you guys from?
Hartney, Manitoba.
Okay. Tell me about why it's so important for you guys to be here every year.
Well, I came out quite late, about 8 years ago. So met my husband, and I was closeted for far too long in my life. So that's why he brought me to my first Pride, and that just means a lot to us to be here together. So yeah.
Now that you're here, how does it feel?
It's just amazing. It's a totally different, like I said, it's the vibe, it's the happiness, and just the all-around joy.
Don't have to worry about anybody.
Yeah.
It's just a comfortable place to be. Yeah. So it's no judgment. Everybody's here to be with each other. There's no fear here, so.
What would your message or your advice be to maybe folks who are here today going through their own kind of journeys?
Just take it day by day. Nobody can tell you how quick or how slow to come out or feel comfortable with yourself. It's just you'll know when the time's right. So.
My first name is Pedro, and last name is Ribeiro de Sena.
Carlo Sena.
As a father, how important is it to be here and support your children?
That's just the basic to do, right? Just offer love not for kids, not for young kids, but for everyone around. It's awesome for the community and for the society at least.
And having that support from your dad, how does that feel?
It feels very reassuring to know that I can be whoever I want, become whoever I want, and I still have my support in my home.
Must mean a lot, I imagine.
Yes.
How do you feel being here together today?
It feels really lively in a way to have like everyone see each other, have my family here with many other families, and to know we're all just one people, really.
Since yesterday from people at the Pride Parade in Winnipeg. We'll hear more throughout the morning. That was the CBC's Gavin Axelrod connecting with some of the people in the crowd of nearly 15,000. Heather Wells will have more in her news headlines. And if you want to go online, you'll see some of the colorful pictures from the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
The puck may have dropped on the playoffs, but the news doesn't stop for hockey. I'm Brittany Greenslade, host of CBC Winnipeg News at 6. To get your local news, stream CBC Winnipeg News at 6, 24/7 on CBC Gem, the CBC News app, and selected streaming platforms. CBC Winnipeg News at 6, your local news on your favorite streaming device.
Well, let's talk chicken, shall we? In Manitoba, we've already been doing that. And the provincial sales tax has been eliminated, as you likely know, on prepared poultry products at grocery stores. That's a promise been made by the NDP. Those are those little pre-cooked chickens. But what if you're going to buy fresh meat? Well, you're going to pay a lot. If you pay attention to the price of groceries, you probably already noticed the price of chicken is on the rise. It's the latest product in the meat aisle to see a significant spike. And apparently there's no indication that those prices are going to come down anytime soon. To break down the factors at play, Tyler McCann is with us via Zoom, Managing Director at the Canadian Agri-Food Policy Institute. He's in Ottawa today. Good morning.
Good morning.
What are some of the headline reasons for the price of chicken being this high?
So first and foremost, it's because we keep buying it. It's demand for chicken protein, but all proteins in the meat aisle continues to increase. We're seeing this consumption really focus on animal proteins. 10 years ago, plant proteins were all of the craze. That's softened off a bit, but for the last 5 years, demand for meat proteins has continued to grow and get stronger. Beef was first and foremost, but now we see people switching to poultry. And unfortunately, as this demand is increased, it's happening at a time where avian influenza is making it harder for the industry to produce more chicken to meet that demand.
How much higher is it?
The demand for chicken
the
right
price,
now,
the price itself,
price,
yeah, on average.
Well, Manitoba is and across the prairie is a bit of an interesting exception to the rule, where we actually see over the last year, April to April changes, fresh or frozen poultry prices have actually gone down a hair. That's not true across the country, but we know that prices are continuing to increase. We've seen wholesale prices get more expensive over the last couple of months, and so we expect to see more of that pressure hit consumers in June and July as well. And so nationally, we're seeing chicken up 6%, give or take, but prices are a little bit flatter in Manitoba.
Any idea of why that might be? And it's okay if not, I'm just exploring here.
Yeah, often the pressures, the retail pressures are a little bit different. The production pressures are a little bit different in the prairies, and so that takes some of the pressure off of price increases.
You were talking about demand, and why demand might be going up. I wonder if the protein craze that we're seeing all over the place is factoring into that.
Yeah, absolutely, and so this is one of the things that we're seeing is not only are people eating more protein, they don't seem to be too bothered by the high prices. We've seen this for beef over the last couple of years. Beef prices have been up, and they've been up consistently, and yet it doesn't seem to have had too much of an impact on demand yet. So we're seeing that now in chicken. Maybe they're moving from beef to chicken, but they don't seem to be too bothered by the high prices yet. I think that's the big question in the industry, is at what point in time will consumers stop buying as much meat protein? But as you say, there's a craze that's going on. The demand has changed, has shifted as people really double down on meat protein.
If it started with beef and then people moved to chicken, and I have no idea psychologically why this order happens in that way, but is pork next?
Pork is next, and pork prices are already going up. So people, when they move from chicken to pork, they may be surprised. They may get a bit of a sticker shock on pork too. But it is something where it's all different. But you go back to beef. The ground beef is more expensive than a chicken breast is today. That's not kind of the way that things are supposed to work. And so we see this kind of shuffling of demand across the meat aisle as people go from one to the other.
Right? Yeah, you used to be able to, the ground beef was what you would buy to make a big pot of spaghetti, and then you're saving your money, and chicken breast would be like more premium. So what do you think is going to happen in the future? Are you expecting these costs are just going to continue to rise?
Well, it looks like for the foreseeable future, the summer barbecue season, everything's going to be more expensive. Certainly, the industry is trying to produce more to meet the demand. We're producing more chicken than we ever have before. We're importing more chicken than we ever have before. That doesn't seem to be enough yet. Avian influenza is making it harder to ramp up production the way that the industry would like it to. But that hopefully will get itself worked out, and hopefully we'll see production get to where it needs to. The big question is, at what point in time are consumers going to back off their protein purchases? And we don't really know where that level is yet.
The federal government, meantime, is increasing the value of GST rebates. They gave a one-time payment to millions of low to middle-income Canadians Friday. How much will that actually help people afford things like chicken?
Well, keep in mind that that's something that the government has called it a grocery and essentials benefit, but as you say, it's a GST top up. And what it's going to do is help consumers deal with the cost of everything, right? Yes, food, we see that. We go to the grocery store every week. We see these prices get more expensive, but it's everything else that's really having an impact. And actually food has been, yes, it's gone up. Yes, we see it, but the share of household income spent on food has been relatively stable over the last couple of years. But the issue is that really hurts the lowest income Canadians. The average household spends about 10%, 11% of their income on food. That's about a third of their income when it comes to the lowest income Canadians. And so they're struggling to make ends meet. And food is one of the things that they struggle with. That targeted support that the government offers should help, but it's not just chicken that those Canadians are struggling with.
All right, Tyler, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you. Have a great day.
That's Tyler McCann with us live, Managing Director at the Canadian Agri-Food Policy Institute.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
The puck may have dropped on the playoffs, but the news doesn't stop for hockey. I'm Brittany Greenslade, host of CBC Winnipeg News at 6. To get your local news, stream CBC Winnipeg News at 6, 24/7 on CBC Gem, the CBC News app, and selected streaming platforms. CBC Winnipeg News at 6, your local news on your favorite streaming device.
Coming up, do you want to go faster? Do you want to get married? We're going to talk about that because we'll talk about a Manitoba love story. 13 years ago, two Brandonites had their first date at the Red River X. Through a stroke of luck, now they've won a contest to get married there in front of the big wheel. And one of them doesn't want to go on the Ferris wheel because he's nervous. Love it. We'll talk to them in the next hour of Information Radio. Also coming up in the next hour of the show, the provincial ban on AI chatbots and social media could start in the classroom. We'll hear more about that. Plus, open drug use and dealing in Winnipeg's downtown and West End are daily occurrences. We're going to talk to the police. We have two officers in studio on this topic in the next hour about what they consider when deciding how to enforce drug laws in the city and how challenging things have been from their point of view out there on the street. Right now it is 3 minutes to 7 o'clock. It's 22 degrees in Winnipeg, Brandon 17, and in Thompson it is 17 as well. It's mostly cloudy in all those places. In Winnipeg here, a high of 27 is what we're expecting, and winds are south 30, gusting to about 50. In traffic, things have been moving quite well, though Highway 10 to 366 is closed due to flooding. That's just east of Swan River. So that's some localized flooding in that area. If you spot any problems, you can call the CBC commuter line, and Sierra Sanders will pick it up. 788-3093 is where you reach her. Next, let's go to our news center and find out what's making headlines with Heather Wells in Manitoba. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, as Manitoba moves towards that ban on social media and artificial intelligence chatbots for those under 16, a Winnipeg teacher wants to see guidelines from the province on teaching students about AI. Donovan Ponce is a grade 7 teacher at General Wolfe School. He says education around what a chatbot is and how to use them responsibly is key. And a sea of color in downtown Winnipeg. 15,000 people walked in yesterday's annual Pride Parade. We're going to take you there and hear from some of the people who took part coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather. This is Information Radio on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for starting your week with us here on Monday morning. Tomorrow's Bike to Work Day. I don't know if you have any plans for that. We'd love to hear from you, though, if you do. 788-3205. The other thing that we're on the lookout for are soccer fans. World Cup begins this week. I love covering World Cup, and mostly because we get to connect with local fans from Manitoba, and we find out what country you are cheering for other than Canada. And a lot of you are going to have roots cheering for other countries. I always love the stories where folks are cheering for a country that was like first time in the World Cup, or maybe never supposed to make it in or expect to make it in. Sierra Sanders is going to be part of covering some of those stories. So if you want to reach out to us, 788-3205, 788-3205, and let us know who you're cheering for and why. Right now, though, it's time to plug back into Monday morning and news nationally and internationally on World Report on CBC. That's next at 7 o'clock. It's 1 minute to.
Today on The Current.
Ordinary. The word just means that you're like other people, but it has come to be taken as a bit of an insult. In defense of being average and a look at how too much striving can lead many of us to failure or burnout, it's coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Iran's armed forces says it is ending military operations against Israel. Both sides launched new attacks overnight. It is the most significant fighting between Israel and Iran in months. And now U.S. President Donald Trump says both sides are looking to once again agree to an immediate ceasefire. The CBC's Willie Lowry is watching the developments from Jerusalem. And Willie, what is the latest?
So Iran's military joint command says it is halting its offensive operation against Israel, but warns that if Israel continues to attack Lebanon, it will respond even more aggressively. On Sunday, Israel hit Beirut's southern suburbs after Hezbollah fired rockets towards communities in the country's north. Israel's strike on Beirut prompted Tehran to respond. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps launched multiple barrages of ballistic missiles overnight Sunday and on Monday morning towards Israel. Sirens sounded in several parts of the country, including here in Jerusalem. The Houthi rebels in Yemen, who have long been backed by Iran, joined the fight and launched at least one missile at Israel. The group said that they would block Israeli maritime navigation in the Red Sea. Israel, for its part, launched multiple strikes against Iran, including hitting a petrochemical factory. A spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry said that the U.S. was responsible for the consequences of this latest round of kinetic activity.
Once again, Donald Trump has been busy on social media. What are we hearing from the president?
He certainly has. His first post this morning was very brief. He said simply, Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting. He followed that one up with a slightly longer post saying both sides were looking for an immediate ceasefire. He went on to say final negotiations on peace are proceeding subject to ignorance or stupidity getting in its way. The blockade will remain in place and in full force and effect until a final deal is reached. Things should move quickly. The U.S. and Iran have thus far been unable to reach a deal to end this conflict and open the Strait of Hormuz, despite reportedly being close to one now for several weeks.
Thanks, Willie.
Sure thing.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Jerusalem. Canada will have a new Governor General today. This morning, former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour is officially sworn in at a ceremony in Ottawa. Arbour succeeds Mary Simon, who just finished her term as the country's first Indigenous Governor General. Janice McGregor is following this for us from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, what do we know so far about how Arbour will approach this role?
On the day Prime Minister Mark Carney announced Louise Arbour as his pick, a reporter asked how someone who's sat as a Supreme Court judge, prosecuted war crimes internationally, was going to adjust to a more ceremonial role, shaking hands, presenting medals. Arbour said she was serene and enthusiastic about representing Canada, and that, well, yes, it's different from her past work. Those medal ceremonies, they celebrate what makes us human. And she respects that not all Canadians were fans of her judicial decisions, but in her new role, she'll be there to listen.
I will reach out not only to those who agree with me. The kind of cheerleading mode, I think, is not always conducive to change and to progress.
And Mark Carney said that day, should Canada find itself in a constitutional crisis, the country's going to be lucky to have someone with her clarity and moral judgment. And he's looking forward to his private conversations with her on serious issues.
As a judge, Arbour participated in rulings interpreting the Crown's duties to Indigenous peoples. Now she steps into the role of representing the Crown. What are we watching for on that?
King Charles had his first private audience with her last Wednesday, but it's notable that the day before he'd met in person with leaders from the Assembly of First Nations, chiefs who are anxious to ensure their rights and direct relationship with the Crown is upheld in the wake of the upcoming sovereignty referendum in Alberta. Outgoing Governor General Mary Simon told CBC Radio's The House last weekend that she's worked to be a bridge builder, especially for Indigenous peoples. But reconciliation isn't a short-term project for one person to do. It's a way of life. We'll see if Arbour can build on her predecessor's work amid the sovereignty threats on Canada's horizon.
Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
Janice McGregor in our Parliamentary Bureau. An earthquake has shaken parts of the southern Philippines. At least 32 people are dead. More than 200 others are hurt. In Digos, Mindanao, elementary school students run when a roof collapses nearby. The epicenter of the 7.8 magnitude earthquake was just off the southern coast of the island. It set off a meter-high tsunami and triggered a landslide that killed 13 villagers in the mountain town of Glan. This is the strongest earthquake to hit the Philippines since 1990. A trial begins today for the man accused of causing the Palisades fire in California. The fire killed 12 people. Thousands of homes and businesses are gone. Steve Futterman has the latest.
It was last October that federal officials filed charges.
Today, we are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht for igniting a fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades.
First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley made the announcement. Rinderknecht isn't actually accused of setting the Palisades fire on January 7th. He's accused of setting a different fire, the Lockman fire, a week before, just past midnight on January 1st.
He exited the car, walked up a nearby trail, took iPhone videos at a nearby hilltop, and listened to a rap song whose music video including objects being lit on fire.
The Lockman fire was pretty much put out by fire crews, but not completely. It smoldered underground for a week, then resurfaced and exploded into the Palisades inferno. The key issue will be the cause of the Lockman fire. Defense attorney Steve Haney says his client is innocent. His theory is that the fire was unintentionally set by New Year's Eve celebrants.
He was in the area. And like many people, he was on the hill that night to watch the fireworks, right at midnight.
The prosecution will also attempt to show that Rinderknecht, an Uber driver, was agitated on New Year's Eve about a former relationship. One key piece of evidence could be a ChatGPT conversation where the defendant asks, "Are you at fault if a fire is lit because of your cigarettes?" Steve Futterman, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will push a message of unity in Calgary today. The speech is part of his campaign to convince Albertans to remain in Canada. Poilievre also plans to call on Alberta to join fellow provinces to demand more from Ottawa. An excerpt from his speech was provided to CBC News. In it, Poilievre says Albertans have been demanding the unblocking of resources and pipelines and respect for provincial autonomy. This fall, Albertans will vote on whether they want the province to hold a binding referendum on separating from Canada. People in BC's Lower Mainland are now under the toughest water restrictions in years. Officials say the region's snowpack is much lower than usual, and as Dan Burrett reports, they're pleading with residents to reduce how much water they use.
Business has been blooming at this Vancouver garden centre, but the talk is all about water, or a lack of it.
I've already thought differently about not planting any flowers this year.
The regional government has now imposed the tightest water restrictions in a decade. Linda Parkinson, Metro Vancouver's Water Services Director, points to a number of factors.
Historically low snowpack. We have forecasts for a very hot and dry June and into the summer.
Stage 3 water restrictions mean no lawn watering, no car washing at home, and no filling up or topping up pools and hot tubs. People can still hand water gardens, trees, and shrubs, though. Garden Centre manager Laura Doney says they're trying to educate.
Talking to people about plants that can handle drought.
Metro Vancouver's 3 million residents use about 1 billion litres of water a day, and that spikes in the summer. Officials warn the demand on the region's 3 reservoirs was already up. Zafar Adil is executive director of the Pacific Water Research Centre at Simon Fraser University.
Canadians tend to be one of the highest water users per capita basis in the world. So we need to be a bit more aware of what we are using.
Another concern is maintenance. A major water pipe that runs through Vancouver's Stanley Park is shut down so crews can build a new water supply tunnel. Officials say they'll review the Stage 3 restrictions once the pipe is reopened later in the summer. Dan Burrett, CBC News, Vancouver.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. For news anytime, go to cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. Welcome to Monday after a sticky weekend. It's going to be similar today, a little bit more seasonal. Thanks for joining us on Information Radio on CBC 89.3. Or 990 AM or on the app and YouTube, anywhere you're finding us. Thanks for being here. Well, this hour on the program, open drug use and dealing in Winnipeg's downtown and West End are daily occurrences. And there's a lot of different perspectives about what to do moving forward. It is a situation that does require compassion, but it also requires enforcement. So what's the balance between that, those two things? Coming up, we have 2 police officers who are going to be in studio with us to talk about what they consider when they're trying to help and also to enforce drug laws in our city. So stay tuned. That's coming up just before 8 o'clock. In studio with us live, we will have Inspector Jen McKinnon and Inspector Josh Iwatsky. So stay tuned. But we begin with a couple that's getting ready to get married at their Red River X. They won a contest, and in fact, that was their first date 13 years ago. So stay tuned. We're going to talk to them in a couple of minutes. Right now, Heather Wells is in with other headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, experts are calling for a crackdown on so-called chameleon carriers after a fatal Brandon crash last month. Concord Transport lost its safety license in Manitoba in 2021. The following year, it registered in Alberta, and Alberta recently assessed it as one of the highest risk carriers. One of its drivers allegedly failed to stop at a stop sign, hitting an SUV in Brandon, killing a 49-year-old woman. So we'll hear more about these so-called chameleon carriers coming up. And there was a lot of sound and fury, but was there any damage? A lot of people in Western Manitoba's phones were going off yesterday with all kinds of warnings, severe thunderstorm, tornado warnings. We'll hear from Environment Canada about what happened in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
Yeah, you got to wonder, right? Like in Winnipeg, there was that feeling and you kind of looked at the sky wondering, So looking forward to hearing what people had to say. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
After last week especially. Okay, let's get into what's going on in that weather with Abby.
Yes, it's a warm start to Monday, Marcy. We're seeing a tale of two patterns this morning. Warm and clearing conditions in the southern parts, and up north we're seeing cloud cover. And if you look far north, some showers there and even for hazy conditions as you go towards Churchill this morning. But for Winnipeg, we're starting the day under mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures already at 23 degrees. We're expecting these cloudy conditions to move out. We warm up to 27 later. We're going to notice the winds from the south through the morning, and across the southern regions, similar conditions. Temperatures already between 16 and 20 degrees. But up north, we're seeing light rain around the Gillam and the Thompson area as we speak, with temperatures close to 20 degrees. Winnipeg right now, 23. We get to a muggy 27 later.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
We've got a mixed bag of weather this morning, as you've been hearing. So that means in traffic, you're going to have a mixed bag. So bring your shades just in case. Get your wipers ready if you're further up north and around Flin Flon. Some rain right now. Let's talk about what is happening, though. We only have one spot to really mention that's going to be a problem. This is Highway 10 to Highway 366. This is closed due to localized flooding east of Swan River, and if you're in that area, you'll likely already know. But Highway 10 to 366 closed due to flooding east of Swan River. Otherwise, you should be fine. At 788-3093 is where you can reach us. I'll also mention here something else that is happening, and not due to traffic, but something that's going to change your programming day a little bit later here on Information Radio. We have a preemption here on Radio 1 on 89.3 FM from 9 to 10:30 this morning. This is for the swearing in of the new Governor General of Canada. So it could even extend past that. But from 9 to 10:30, you'll be able to catch all of that swearing-in ceremony here live on 89.3 FM. Well, 13 years ago, Ashley Hutchinson and Justin Moore had their first date at the Red River X. Over the years, she says that they stuck together through the good and the bad, and this past year they decided they're going to tie the knot. To their delight, they learned about a contest run by the X called Marriage on the Midway. Justin entered and they won. Now they will get married at the X this week on June 13th, and they join us from Brandon, where they live. Hi there, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi there, Justin.
Hi, good morning.
Congratulations. You guys are getting married this week. How'd you feel when you learned you won, Justin?
Oh, it was exciting.
No kidding.
You know, reality hasn't quite kicked in quite yet. It's wedding week, but yeah, we are looking forward to it.
What's your cute meet story? Who wants to tell it? Ashley? Or you guys can tell it together. How'd you meet?
We met 13 years ago. I'm from Brandon, so I was out working in Winnipeg. We were just talking online, and then she decided to come out to Winnipeg to visit me one weekend, and the X was going on. So that was our first time ever going to that fair, and that was our first real date.
Love that.
And a weekend together.
I love that. There's also a really funny sort of aside here. So, Ashley, do you like rides?
Yeah, I do.
And on your first date, did you go on a lot of rides, Ashley?
I made him go on every one of them, even though he was terrified, and he hit it very well. But our very first photo together was on the slingshot.
Oh, I love that. That's that. You went on the sling. Did you go on the slingshot, Justin?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And
I'm afraid
Megan, who's putting this all on.
Yep.
She had called 4 different companies who have a slingshot to try and get it to the Red River X this year so we could recreate this photo. But thankfully, they all got prior commitments. so I am not going on the slingshot again.
I'm your people, Justin. I'm afraid that's like when you're a human in a slingshot and you're thrown up and down like crazy, like
absolutely
flying. I do love though that you went on every ride for Ashley. It must have been love pretty quickly for you to do that.
Yeah, we could call it that.
Did either of you imagine, Ashley, that you'd have a wedding at the carnival, like at the X?
Oh no, I would never imagine that.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit more, Ashley, about what they're going to cover, like what your wedding will be like at the X this week. What have you won?
At 2 p.m. will be the ceremony in front of the big wheel, and then at 3 p.m. will be bride and groom horse and carriage ride through Mardi Gras parade.
Oh, awesome!
And then from 3:30 till 7, it'll be going on rides and enjoying fair food. And then 7 p.m. we will be going for a helicopter ride.
Wow.
And then after that, I think around 7:45 will be our first dance. And then you can just enjoy the fair until the fireworks.
So,
also included was like photography and officiant.
Yeah, some fair passes. They gave us some ride passes and some fair food. And
so much fun. So are you going up in the helicopter ride then, Justin? You're going to manage that?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you guys wearing? Are you dressing sort of for the part at the fair, Ashley, or do you have a, more traditional wedding gown, or is it a surprise and I shouldn't be asking?
Traditional wedding gown.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we are getting dressed right up for this.
Amazing. In terms of your friends and family, what's their reaction to the fact that you're going to have this unique wedding at the X?
They got a lot of questions, but everyone's kind of all excited for it. It's right up our alley. It's kind of who we are, the spontaneous.
Something different.
That's kind of how we are. So everyone's looking forward to it.
Why did you want to enter the competition, Justin? Why did you think that this was a good thing to do?
Well, this is our 13-year anniversary, so our anniversary date is June 22nd. This year was the year I was going to ask, actually, regardless. And then when I saw this, we both saw this competition or this contest, and we were at different places during the day. And when we both messaged each other about it, it was like, yeah, I'm going to commit to this. And it's where it all began for us 13 years ago. So it just seemed perfect.
Oh, you guys are so cute. I love that. And now it's like 13 years on the 13th.
No, exactly. That's just, yeah.
What's your favorite fair food, Ashley? What are you going to chow down
on?
Deep fried Oreo.
Yeah. And maybe try have a corn dog and cotton candy. And
I love a good corn dog. Mini donuts, lemonade.
All lemonades all day.
I don't discriminate.
Our flower girl is actually, instead of throwing out traditional rose petals, Ashley and her mom made a little cotton candy bucket and wrapped individual size pieces of cotton candy. So our flower girl is going to be throwing those out. We're kind of going to roll with the whole theme of being at the fair. And the flower girl will be throwing out some cotton candy.
Oh, it's so cute, you guys.
Yeah.
I hope you have a fantastic wedding day on Saturday. Right now it says mix of sun and cloud 21, which is really nice. And congratulations to both of you. Thanks so much for sharing your lovely story. It doesn't get better than that for a hot day in June. Congratulations, Ashley.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and good luck with the wedding, Justin.
Thank you very much.
So cute. You'll see him at the X this weekend. That's because Ashley Hutchinson and Justin Moore will get married at the Red River X Midway on Saturday, June 13th.
It's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby. I think I want to marry you. Is it the look in your eyes, or is it this dancing trash, got a pocket full of cash we can blow. Shots of Patrol, and it's on, girl. Don't say no, 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 no. Just say yeah, 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 yeah. And we'll go, 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 go. If you're ready, like I'm ready, 'cause it's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby, I think I wanna marry you. Is it the look in your eyes, or is it this dancing juice? Who cares, baby? I think I wanna marry you. Oh, I'll go get a ring, let the choir bells sing like ooh. So what you wanna do? Let's just run, girl. If we wake up and you wanna break up, that's cool. No, I won't blame you. It was fun, girl. Don't say no, 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 no. Just say yeah, 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 yeah. And we'll go, 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 go. If you're ready, like I'm ready, 'cause it's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby, I think I wanna marry you. Is it the look in your eyes, or is it this dancing juice? Who cares, baby? I think I wanna marry you. Just say I do. Tell me right now, baby. Tell me right now, baby. Baby, just say I do. Tell me right now, baby. Tell me right now, baby. Baby, oh, it's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby, I think I wanna marry you. Is it the look in your eyes, or is it this dancing juice? Who cares, baby? I think I wanna marry you.
So much fun. That story about the couple getting married at the X. I hope they have a wonderful day on Saturday. It is 7:24 a.m. on 89.3. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Still ahead on the show to serious matters. We have been doing a series of interviews looking at what to do about the city's drug crisis and how to move forward and handle things. Here's what Premier Wap Kinew said to us last week.
Well, we should bring the iron fist down on drug dealers, and we should extend the velvet glove to the drug users.
But what do the velvet glove and iron fist look like from an enforcement perspective? We have two police officers who are going to be joining us, two inspectors in studio at about 7:45 this morning to talk about their perspective on dealing with this challenge in our city. So stay tuned. Right now, let's go to Scott Reguera, I believe, who's with us with Morning Sports today. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Marcy.
So big week, right? Couple more sleeps before FIFA World Cup. And what's the latest on Team Canada?
Yeah, well, a good deal of concern, Marcy, around the health of Moise Bombito. Canada's preferred central defender has been trying to get fit in time for the tournament, but you can't really rush a surgically repaired lower leg. Over the weekend, reports surfaced, Marcy, that Bombito will not be able to play in this tournament, will not be fit enough. But Coach Jesse Marsh just last night told TSN nothing's decided yet.
No, he's here. So, he's still going through a lot of little recovery issues to see if he can get himself to 100%. But we're giving him until the very last day, to very last minute, to give himself the best opportunity. And he still feels adamantly that he can prepare himself and get ready to go for the tournament.
We'll see. Moise Bombito, on his day, I mean, he plays in the top French league. He's smart. He's strong. He's super pacey. And I know this, that Aiden Dzeko, who plays for Bosnia and Herzegovina and will do on Friday against Canada, that he's one of the world's best strikers. Even at 40, he's incredible. And not having Bombito to face Bombito would be something he'd be very, very happy with. But it sounds like it's going to go down to the final hour. Canada has till 24 hours before kickoff on Friday to make the call.
Okay, let's talk tennis. There's a new champion at the French Open.
Alex Zverev, who outlasted Italy's Flavio Cobolli yesterday, Marcy, beating him in 5 sets. Zverev's long been dubbed the best player of his generation not to have won a Grand Slam. He has made 3 major finals before, but lost each time, including a nail-biter to Carlos Alcaraz just a couple of years ago at Roland Garros. And that was on Zverev's mind yesterday after he won.
I had some of the toughest moments of my life here. You know, I was laying on this court with an injury that I didn't know if I'll ever come back from. I lost the Grand Slam final here, so all of those memories, for me, they're not wiped out. They still would be with me, but this one will beat all of them.
There you are, Alex Zverev mentioning the 2022 semifinal against Rafa Nadal, where he fell at one point, tearing his ankle ligaments. He had to be wheelchaired off the court that day. And Nadal was one of the first to congratulate Zverev yesterday, writing on social media, "So well-deserved after all the hard work and perseverance." Indeed, Marcy, it's taken Zverev 125 matches won at various Grand Slams before he could eventually call himself a champion.
And let's finish, Scott, in the hard court, where there's a lot going on in basketball right now.
Yes, including in a historic day for Canada, Marcy. For the first time, the country has won the FIBA's U18 Men's AmeriCup. So that's basically the title for the best team in the Americas. The U.S. had won this tournament 7 times running, but led by MVP Javion Tyndale, the Canadians topped the Americans for gold yesterday. Also a big part of Canada's roster, Winnipeg's Setimo Yugu. So congratulations to those guys. Basketball tonight, we have the Knicks trying to take a 3-0 lead at home in the NBA Final over the Spurs. Donald Trump's going to be in attendance at Madison Square Garden this evening. And in a game the U.S. president was not at, the Toronto Tempo topped Chicago yesterday. The Tempo did it with help from a now healthy Isabel Harrison, a power forward who dislocated her thumb in training camp, but she made her Tempo debut yesterday, scored 14 points. So the Tempo, they've sold out every home game they've played so far, and will do, I'm sure, Wednesday again when they play against Connecticut. They have a winning record in this first WNBA season.
All right, thanks, Scott.
You betcha.
Scott Regehr with Morning Sports. He's here each and every morning at 7:25 on CBC 89.3 FM. Thank you for being here as well. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and traffic-wise, things are pretty good this morning. You're going to wear your shades. It's going to be sticky out there, and depending on where you are, it's going to be windy as well. So if you're biking, note the wind. Winds are southeast at 18 now, but they'll be gusting up to 50 from the south. We sure have had some windy days and nights. In traffic, we do have Highway 10 to 366 closed, though, so that is due to localized flooding. That's east of Swan River. 788-3093 to reach us with any other news on the commute we can pass along. Right now, your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's 23. We've got clouds now, but the sky will clear through the day. And as Marcy mentioned, it's going to be windy, south gusting to 50. Today's high is 27. A Winnipeg teacher says he wants to see guidelines from the province on when to start educating students about artificial intelligence. Manitoba plans to ban social media and AI chatbots for young people under 16. Donovan Ponce is a grade 7 STEM teacher at General Wolfe School. He says chatbots are found in many apps and websites.
We can't just ban and not discuss AI, so I would like to see some sort of plan as to when should we start introducing AI in our classrooms, even just as educating students about AI.
Ponce teaches students right now about how they can incorporate chatbots used by the division responsibly. He says he has seen them with things like generating project ideas and simplifying text. You can hear more on the story coming up in this half hour right here on Information Radio. Experts are calling for a crackdown on so-called chameleon carriers after a fatal crash in Brandon. Concord Transport lost its safety license in Manitoba in 2021. The following year, it registered in Alberta. Alberta recently assessed it as one of the highest risk carriers. One of its drivers allegedly failed to stop at a stop sign, hitting an SUV in Brandon, killing a 49-year-old woman. Mark Cadieux is a board member at the Canadian Trucking Alliance. He says there have been many fatal crashes involving chameleon carriers in Canada.
They just switch around, open another corporation and another province, and bring back the same approach, negliging their maintenances, having not well-trained drivers.
Manitoba's transportation minister is calling on Ottawa to take action against companies with repeated infractions and to create a national database where a loss of safety certification would be flagged. Well, phones were going off in western Manitoba yesterday with warnings of tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. This morning, Environment Canada says no twisters touched down. There were powerful storms, though, particularly around Virden and Swan River. The Weather Office says near St. Clair, north of Melita, wind gusts were clocked at 112 kilometers an hour. Golf ball-sized hail was also reported near Kanuka-Waka Dakota First Nation near Roblin. The storm also dumped heavy rain of up to 130 millimeters in the Minitonas area. Highways 366 and 268 near Highway 10 are closed in the area because of flooding. That is the area east of Swan River. Emergency departments all over Canada are trying to figure out how to handle the opioid crisis. It is being talked about at a national conference here in Winnipeg. Vancouver emergency physician Andrew Kessler says the drug situation is bad right across the country.
There's sort of new contaminants in the drug supply, and so people are maybe overdosing more often and then having a more profound overdose that maybe doesn't respond to the naloxone, the Narcan that they're getting. It's sort of, I know ambulance services are stressed. It's a national problem.
Health Canada says every day right across the country about 20 people die in opioid-related overdoses. At least 32 people have been killed by an earthquake in the Philippines. More than 130 others are injured. A building in General Santos City on Mindanao collapses, sending a cloud of dust and debris into the street. The 7.8 magnitude quake struck off the coast of the southern island. Dozens of buildings have collapsed from either the initial quake or the dozens of aftershocks. Some regions saw power and communication networks knocked out. The quake triggered tsunami warnings for the Philippines as well as Indonesia, Japan, and Australia. Most of those have now been lifted. Canada's next Governor General is being installed today. Former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will be the 31st representative of the Crown, replacing Mary Simon. Arbour will be sworn in during a special ceremony in the Senate chamber in Ottawa. Arbour, who is 79, will give her first address to the nation, in which she is expected to outline her priorities for her time in office. CBC Radio is going to have special live coverage of the ceremony beginning at 9 o'clock Central this morning. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Well, it was a sea of color in downtown Winnipeg. Thousands walking in the city's annual Pride Parade. Felix Yerboa moved from Ghana to Winnipeg 3 years ago.
Being here, you don't have to live looking at your shoulders and all that. And you can be happy, you can be open about whatever you belongs to, and nobody's gonna stop you from that.
Organizers estimate about 15,000 people walked in yesterday's parade. They are also planning to add another day of festivities next year to mark Winnipeg Pride's 40th year of celebrating. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, they were marching and they were drinking a lot of water and wearing hats because it was just crazy hot yesterday. Today is going to be warm, not quite as hot, though. Here's Abby with our regional look.
Yes, we start first with cloudy conditions, and we're already seeing those cloudy skies roll out, but by the lunch period, you see it totally gone, and then some sunny conditions. Here in Winnipeg, mostly cloudy at this time, 22 degrees, warming up to 23. 23 across the southern regions. We're seeing 16s in the Brandon area, 17 in the Dauphin area, and 24 in the Gimli area. But up north, we're looking at 17s, and towards the Thompson area, we're seeing 18 degrees. For Churchill and Tudor Lake, we're seeing temperatures fluctuate between 2 and 5 degrees with light rain and still hazy conditions spotted here and there. But for Winnipeg, it is 23 now, warming to 27.
All right, thanks, Abby Adiemi.
Thank you.
Sierra Sanders, how's your commute today?
Hi, Marcy. It's been pretty quiet on the commuter line so far this morning, so not hearing about any big situations going on here in the city or surrounding areas, but just some more highway traffic closures to note, and these are due to flooding. First, we had Highway 10 from Highway 366 to Renware. That is closed, and that closure is located east of Swan River, as well as a couple of more now. Highway 366 south of Highway 10, and about 1.6 kilometers from the junction of Highway 485 and Highway 268 north of Highway 10 for about 8 kilometers. Those areas are closed due to flooding. So a couple of highway closures to note. So if you are in those areas, keep those in mind. They are due to some flooding. Again, the number to call this morning if there is something that's popping up on your drive is 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Sierra. Well, as we've been reporting, Manitoba's premier says the government wants to ban social media and AI chatbots for those under 16. The education minister has weighed in, saying it's a move that could start in schools, similar to how restrictions were introduced on cell phones. But how will that work? CBC's Alana Cole visited General Wolfe School in Winnipeg to talk about the ban. It is actually the same school that CBC visited just months ago as we explored the impacts of AI in class.
Oh, I love Niana. Scrolling, watching videos, connecting with friends. These middle school students are online. They have an opinion about a ban on social media.
No matter what, we're still going to find out, like, the negative side of social media sooner or later. And, yeah, like, I just think that they shouldn't ban it.
I think instead of a ban, I feel like more of an age-appropriate restriction would be better.
Manitoba wants to ban social media for those under 16. The government also wants to ban artificial intelligence chatbots for that age group. We took the subject to General Wolfe School. We were here not that long ago to see how AI was being introduced in the classroom. We're back to talk about chatbots and the ban. Dennis Karachihov's okay with using chatbots for ideas or even helping him learn English. He thinks it comes down to how they're used.
Some chatbots can be like talking to you think you're talking to a real person, but you're talking to a chatbot. And this situation is pretty bad because maybe in the future you will have some problems to talk to real people.
For Kyra Francisco, AI chatbots can be a helpful tool to answer questions about schoolwork, one that fills in when parents can't.
For immigrant families, like some of us, our parents didn't have the privilege of such like good education to, and some of our parents didn't even finish university. So a lot of things that were heard growing up was do your best and finish school so that you can provide for your family. And I think that AI chatbots really helped with coming up with ideas for helping with education.
Seeing how students are thinking about the technology shows teacher Donovan Ponce how they're becoming independent learners.
From an equity standpoint, again, they acknowledge that sometimes their families may not be able to help them with their homework, with their assignments, and knowing that there is a tool for them to use. I think that was kind of a big moment too.
Ponce's approach is human-led. He teaches students how they can incorporate chatbots used by the division responsibly. He's seen them help generate project ideas and simplify text.
I think we do need to distinguish between educational tools, which can be very powerful at bridging some gaps, and AI for relationships, which I don't think should exist.
He says educating students about what a chatbot is and how they work is key.
I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that we have to educate students on, just because AI is found in so many different apps now and different devices.
It's been interesting.
Principal Susan Durazi has concerns about the impacts of screen time on mental health and well-being. She says it's critical to educate students about what they are using online. For chatbots, she says they can be used to support learning, not replace thinking.
We are learning alongside students. In fact, I would say the students are ahead of us at some points, and so we need to start doing some catching up and learning what we can do to support this new journey.
When it comes to students, Durazi says they're already talking about ways to get around a ban. Ponce would like to see guidelines from the province around AI education.
Manitoba's premier says they want to ban social media and AI chatbots because they're addictive and cause mental health harms. But Wab Kinew says the province is investing in the provincial agency supporting technology in schools. He says he's open to the development of AI tools for class if they're safe, and that includes chatbots.
If there is a tool that is legitimately educational, that's opening new vistas for learning for young people, and we're running it locally on computers that we control, using technology that we know the data is not being sent out of Manitoba, then yeah, I think that's an exciting place for us to look.
As for this group, do you think young people should have a voice in this?
Yeah.
They want to be part of the conversation. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
So thanks to CBC Manitoba's Alana Cole for that story. And I guess I should call it for that update, as it's the second time we've been back in General Wolfe School in Winnipeg to talk about social media and most recently now, of course, the AI ban. If you want to weigh in, you can always give us a call or write to us, radio 893 at cbc.ca or 788-3205. Thanks for being with us here on CBC at 7:43 a.m. I'm Marcy Marcusa. I want to mention something that's coming up after 8 that you might have caught in the news this morning. A fatal semi-truck crash in Brandon is igniting concern about so-called chameleon carriers. These are trucking companies that jump from one province to another to avoid bad safety ratings. So how does it happen? How do they go, undetected, or how is it that they can operate in another province if they've left somewhere with a bad record? We're going to find out. CBC's Bryce Hoy has been on the story. He will join us in studio after 8 o'clock. We'll hear how experts say the latest case underscores why Canada needs a better way to crack down on bad actors in the trucking world. So stay tuned. We'll have that coming up after 8 o'clock on the show. Right now, open drug use and drug dealing are a daily reality in Winnipeg's downtown and West End especially. But in fact, all over the city, there's challenges. Here are Winnipeg School Division Superintendent Matt Henderson, Daniel McIntyre Councillor Cindy Gilroy, and Premier Wab Kinew. We have been doing a series of interviews exploring the issue in our community. Here's a bit of what they've all said.
150 principals and vice principals, and we talk about this all the time. We have kids stepping over people. And that's hugely problematic for a million reasons. One is that we have vulnerable people who have lost their dignity, but also it does, at times it does present safety issues for our kids and our staff. This is the worst I've seen it in my time in Winnipeg, and it's because of the methamphetamine and fentanyl. And we can go through all the reasons why people are addicted and the mental health issues and all that kind of stuff. But if we eliminate the source, there are people in our community deliberately trying to harm people so that they can make money.
And Gordon Bell School is right there, and many of these children have to walk by the open drug use or violence that is occurring. So it's definitely a huge concern in the community.
Well, we should bring the iron fist down on drug dealers, and we should extend the velvet glove to the drug users. If you think about that Tim Hortons that's across the street from Gordon Bell, as well as the McDonald's, just that general area, you're going to see a lot of issues, a lot of social problems. If somebody's going down there to make money off of that misery, like, yeah, that's the type of person we need to hold accountable, particularly when they're putting students and kids in the neighborhood at risk. So you can talk to Dr. Roos and you can talk to the public health experts. They will tell you that enforcement is one of the 4 pillars of a response to addictions.
So we heard there from Winnipeg School Division Superintendent Matt Henderson, Daniel McIntyre, Councillor Cindy Gilroy, and then, of course, the familiar voice of Premier Wab Kinew live on CBC last week. Well, 2 of the people responsible for enforcement of drug laws in our city are my next guests. Winnipeg Police Service Inspectors Jen McKinnon and Josh Watsky. Inspector McKinnon oversees Central Division and Community Support Unit. Good morning.
Good morning.
And also in studio, Inspector Watsky, who's responsible for drug-related investigations and enforcement. Good morning.
Morning.
So let's start around Gordon Bell High School, just in the West End here, Inspector McKinnon. How significant is the drug problem around that area of Winnipeg?
I think it's as significant as it is in other areas that we're seeing. I don't think it's worse or better. I recently, last week, with Inspector Watsky's staff sergeant and my community support unit sergeant, we actually got in the vehicle and went out and had a drive around. I think what we're seeing is a lot of unhoused people using that area to sit, get out of the sun. They're also using the bus shack on Portage and Sherbrooke. So we're very alive to this and have our members attending. We've also reached out to some of the businesses in the area to support them. But you're also asking the police to police a social issue, which is extremely tricky. So certainly we're there for public safety and law enforcement, and the open drug use is definitely a problem. But it's a difficult situation because it's happening throughout our city.
What guidance do you give officers when it comes to what to do if someone's openly using drugs in or around a school or openly selling drugs in or around a school? I'm not sure who wants to take that.
Well, I can say that our officers, if somebody's openly using drugs and selling drugs, we have an enforcement responsibility, and our officers will approach that and deal with that. Often there comes a lot of other things along with that. There could be conditions the person is breaching. They could have warrants. So it gives us also an opportunity to lawfully connect with that person, deal with the open drug use, and also see what else is happening with that individual.
I'm going to play just a small clip of Premier Wab Kinew. This is like literally 3 seconds, but we were asking about resources that could help police on the front lines.
Yeah, I mean, if there's more tools that we can give law enforcement, for sure, we'll do that.
So what more tools could be needed from the province to help with the drug crisis, to make a dent in what we're seeing?
I think first and foremost, it's more officers. We have, it's such a layered issue when you're dealing with drug dealing, drug use, that the more people that we can have focused on this, the better. So I think I would say it's always, if we can have more officers on the street in these units targeting these individuals who are not only dealing but also bringing the drugs into the country or the province, that would always be beneficial. So I think that in order to really be effective is to cut the drugs off at the source, but then also we have the other piece, which is the street level dealers. So people in units that target those, whether it's our guns, gags, drug enforcement unit, our bail compliance unit, who do curfew checks on people who are on charge for drug offenses and drug trafficking offenses, and also more officers in our gang prevention unit who deal with youth and people who are not only in custody in institutions but out in the community, and providing them with extra resources and alternatives to gang lifestyle, because when you're on the street level, that is typically who are dealing the drugs are the street gang members.
It's complicated, of course, because of what Inspector McKinnon was talking about and what we've all been talking about in all these interviews, which is balancing compassion and enforcement and knowing, how to make those decisions. I want to use the Premier's language. So when it comes to trafficking, there's people who sell kilograms of drugs, but there's also people who sell like a small amount, sometimes to support their own addiction. The Premier is saying he wants to see police use use the iron fist for sellers and then the velvet glove for users. But how do you make that distinction? Especially, people who are bringing in big amounts might be in a straight line, but at the street, that small amount, and then maybe somebody as a user and all of a sudden they're selling. How do you sort of deal with that in our city when we're at this moment of crisis?
Well, the supply is the issue. Whether or not they're using and selling, they're getting that product from somewhere, and that somewhere is typically going to be the mid-level gangs, individuals who are part of outlaw motorcycle gangs, organized crime, and then you have the upper echelon, who are the people who are bringing the drugs in to disperse to the dealers. So really, you're looking at the supply issue. The supply issue comes from whether it's fentanyl and cocaine that's coming into the country, typically through the United States, or fentanyl, which is mainly produced in Canada and trafficked throughout the country.
I'll ask you more also about Project Puma in a moment as well. I want to ask you, Inspector McKinnon, from your point of view, what this is like at street level, balancing the needs of students and then teachers, parents, community members, especially around schools, which is what we've been hearing, with those people that are, using drugs.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance for sure. When the Premier talks about a velvet glove to our people who are suffering from addictions, I think our role as a police service is to work more in collaboration with our services, with our business partners, with our nonprofit organizations, with our community partners, with the City of Winnipeg, which is what we're doing through the Safe Winnipeg initiative right now. I've been in this role for 2 months, as we had talked about earlier.
Been in the service for years.
Oh, 30 years,
yeah.
But this 2 months has been just an absolute whirlwind, because I have been out there connecting with a lot of resources that are out there. It's the collaboration of them. It doesn't have to be an enforcement per se. Obviously, if it's open drug use in front of the school, we have to deal with that. But in regards to Gordon Bell, it's connecting with some of the nonprofit resources that are in the area and collaborating with them in a way that maybe the Winnipeg Police Service hasn't done before, and working together.
It's interesting because you say maybe hasn't done before. We were talking about we had the outgoing fire chief we interviewed a few weeks ago, and he said you have to understand firefighters now are like they're reviving people like 3 times a shift, and we're leading the way with training models for how to deal with things in the front lines. I suspect with police, it's not all that different in terms of you come in with an enforcement mindset, perhaps. But as you said right at the beginning, we're dealing with these growing social problems. Does that mean different training for police and sort of how to do all of this at once?
Well, I think it's a different mindset, and I should be clear. I shouldn't say haven't done before. I think our service.
Different.
Yeah, I think our service
growing.
is always trying to connect with our community, and I know Inspector Helen Peters did a really great job with this central division, but it's this whole concept, and we can't do this alone, and it's changing the mindset that the police service in regards to this issue always isn't the enforcement piece. It's the collaboration with community, with our city, with our community partners and stakeholders to wrap around or layer supports. So if I go into the area of around Gordon Bell High School and there's people that are there, but they're not committing an offense, it's very difficult. There can be an approach, communication in regards to, the businesses and the safety of the businesses and moving along. But where do those people go, right? As an enforcement side of things, we can't move people. We need somewhere for people to be able to be just like anyone else.
And I'm curious how you judge if they're a risk or not.
Right.
Because it might be a perceived threat to safety, but are they actually a risk would be something that you'd be judging. Right?
And that's the very fine line, because you also don't want to target people. But it's an opportunity. Greg Burnett from DCSP has been fantastic, and his people have been a great resource, and they're able to have those conversations that law enforcement may not have, just simply because our uniform triggers people.
So I want to go to the enforcement side of things purely, and then I'm going to ask about Puma. My last question for you, Inspector McKinnon, is though, what do you say to someone who's listening that is just frustrated? Says, you know what, we need police on Portage Avenue every single day, and people should not be openly selling drugs on the sidewalk. It's as simple as that.
Well, I would argue that our officers are out there every single day. We have our foot patrol officers, we have our uniform officers are very visible and present. We've got the downtown or the traffic safety, transit safety, not traffic safety project happening right now. So we are out there, and we're committed to working with the resources in the area to help out. And in the bigger picture then, Inspector Watsky, I know we reported on this, but Project Puma, recently the results with the help of other police agencies intercepted more than $32 million worth of meth, cocaine and fentanyl. How has that operation impacted drug supply on Winnipeg streets, or where do you see that impacting in the future, if not yet?
Well, it does make quite an impact on the availability of that product in the city. Unfortunately, it's a larger picture than that. We have those types of drugs coming in from all over, and it's more than just one group that's doing that. So for police, with our resources, we can only target specific people or specific groups at a time. We can't get it all coming in. So it really comes down to working with our partners, whether that's in CBSA or Transport Canada or other law enforcement agencies, and also working towards making it the job easier for our officers. So in terms of lawful access, which is before Parliament now, having the ability to get the information that we need quicker, so that we can react faster, is really key.
Thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it, especially at this moment in our community. Thank you so much, and good luck with your return to the street.
Thank you.
And thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
That's Inspector Jen McKinnon, who oversees the Central Division and the Community Support Unit, and Inspector Joshua Watsky, responsible for drug-related investigations and enforcement from the Winnipeg Police Service, in studio live with us this morning. It's part of our ongoing conversations about drug use and open drug use and dealing in Winnipeg. It is 3 minutes to 8 o'clock. Heather Wells is in with other headlines that are developing. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, experts are calling for a crackdown on so-called chameleon carriers after a fatal Brandon crash. Concord Transport lost its safety license in Manitoba in 2021. The following year, it registered in Alberta, and Alberta recently assessed it as one of the highest risk carriers. A lot of sound and fury, but no damage. People's phones were going off in western Manitoba through the evening with warnings of tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. What there was, Environment Canada says, was a lot of rain in the Swan River area, where flooding has forced some highways to close. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
All right, thank you, Heather. Well, Heather's had this story in her news throughout the morning. After 8 o'clock, Bryce Hoy will be in to tell us more about it. So just to repeat, trucking company at the center of that fatal crash in Manitoba and Westman lost their safety certificate here, went to Alberta and started operating again. So we're going to find out a bit more about how this happened and the company's history, rather. So stay tuned. That's coming up after 8 o'clock live with Bryce Hoy. It is now 23 degrees in Winnipeg. We've been the hot spot most of the morning. Our high is going to be 27, bit of a windy day on hand. And if you need us on the morning commute, 788-3093. Some localized flooding around Highway 10.
On cue. Abel Salaucha has spent his life feeling like he existed in two worlds. I mean, he was raised in a rural South African town, but also spent years studying classical music at an elite British music school. So Abel will be here with his cello to tell you how he uses that tension in his music.
I think I'm only in the environments that would like me there.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Ordinary. The word just means that you're like other people, but it has come to be taken as a bit of an insult. In defense of being average and a look at how too much striving can lead many of us to failure or burnout, that's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young.
Canada will have a new Governor General today. This morning, former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will be officially sworn in at a ceremony in Ottawa. Arbour succeeds Mary Simon, who just finished her term as the country's first Indigenous Governor General. Janice McGregor is following this for us from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, what do we know so far about how Arbour will approach this role?
On the day Prime Minister Mark Carney announced Louise Arbour as his pick, a reporter asked how someone who's sat as a Supreme Court judge, prosecuted war crimes internationally, was going to adjust to a more ceremonial role, shaking hands, presenting medals. Arbour said she was serene and enthusiastic about representing Canada, and that, well, yes, it's different from her past work. Those medal ceremonies, they celebrate what makes us human. And she respects that not all Canadians were fans of her judicial decisions, but in her new role, she'll be there to listen.
I will reach out not only to those who agree with me. The kind of cheerleading mode, I think, is not always conducive to change and to progress.
And Mark Carney said that day, should Canada find itself in a constitutional crisis, the country's going to be lucky to have someone with her clarity and moral judgment. And he's looking forward to his private conversations with her on serious issues.
Arbour is the first GG appointed during King Charles' reign. She's also from Quebec, a province with historically less affection for the monarchy. What signals has she sent on that front?
Well, she's been asked straight up in French if she's a monarchist. And she said that's a term that's unfortunately often used in a pejorative way. Now, saying that got mixed reviews among Canadians who are proud and enthusiastic monarchists. She also said that Canada's system of constitutional monarchy has served it well, especially in recent decades. She's taking on a role that provides continuity for democratic institutions. She's mindful of the legacy she steps into. And if the country does face adversity during her time, she said it'll be her privilege to serve.
Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in our Parliamentary Bureau. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says she reached out to her counterpart in the Philippines. Anita Arand shared her condolences online. An earthquake rocked the Philippines overnight. At least 32 people were killed. More than 200 others are hurt. As Patrick Falk explains, the quake caused buildings to crumble and triggered a deadly landslide.
In footage recorded at an elementary school in the Philippines' Mindanao Island, children are seen crouching on the ground as it ripples before a roof structure collapses. The quake struck south of General Santos, a city of around 700,000 people, early Monday morning on what was meant to be the first day of school following a long break. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. suspended classes across Mindanao Island and warned citizens to evacuate immediately. A separate video circulating on social media showed a shopping centre toppling, with people screaming as it came crashing down. Reports say several people were buried and died during a landslide in the coastal town of Glen in Sarangani province. The area is located about 32 kilometres to the east of the quake epicentre. It was felt by residents in neighbouring Indonesia also. Tsunami waves measuring higher than 1 metre were recorded. Authorities say they were too small to cause damage, but are warning people to brace for aftershocks. Patrick Falk for CBC News, Singapore.
Iran says it is halting all military action against Israel. Just hours earlier, the two sides were firing off new attacks against each other. Sirens sound across Jerusalem. Israel says it intercepted several missiles fired by Iran. The IDF says it targeted military operations in central and western Iran. But in new developments this morning, U.S. President Donald Trump announced that both sides would immediately move to a ceasefire.
این هست که مسئولیت آمریکا به عنوان طرف
Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says the U.S. is responsible for this latest escalation, adding the actions of Israel cannot be separated from American policies. Iran's military warned of harsher action if Israel continues to attack Lebanon. Israeli media is citing a senior official who says Israel is halting its strikes on Iran at Trump's request. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in North Korea. He is on a rare visit for talks with President Kim Jong-un. The meeting is expected to reinforce ties between the two communist nations. Discussions may look at boosting bilateral trade. China is North Korea's most important economic ally. It is Xi's first official visit to North Korea in 7 years and his first trip outside of China in 2026. The family of a BC boy killed in a boat crash wants to see new safety rules for some waterways. Last year, 10-year-old Lionel Hall was killed in a Vancouver boat crash. And as Ali Patarg reports, Lionel's family is hoping more enforcement and accountability will prevent similar tragedies.
Lionel lived larger than life. He was the happiest, most joyful child.
Shelley Clausen is remembering her son for his zest for life. A year ago, a speedboat collided with an inflatable tube carrying the 10-year-old in the waters off North Vancouver. RCMP arrested, then released a man who has not been charged. Police said speed and alcohol were being investigated as possible factors. The boy's family is now advocating for Lionel's Law, which would include amendments to the Canada Shipping Act, making it easier for officers to remove dangerous boaters.
When we looked at everything that went wrong that day, it really opened a can of worms in every direction, looking at water safety, marine safety, water enforcement. What we found was that even if reckless boating was reported, there was really no one to answer the call.
Lionel's family wants legislation to address reckless conduct, including excessive speed near swimmers or shore and ignoring navigation rules, and require stricter licensing and testing requirements for anyone operating a boat. Chief Justin George of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation says they're also working with the family to implement a guardianship program for the nation to monitor waters.
We can intervene and have the ability to close the gap on what's lacking.
The Vancouver Fraser Port Authority has established a perimeter around the area Lionel Hall was killed with a speed limit of 5 knots. Ali Patarga, CBC News, Vancouver.
Ontario's premier is heading to Washington today. He says he's going there to lobby against the U.S. president's tariffs and promote trade with Ontario. Ford will meet with business leaders and elected officials on the 3-day trip. It comes at the mandatory review of the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement as it nears its July 1st deadline. A Nova Scotia man is blaming TD Bank for thousands of dollars taken from his account. He says he was hacked, and he wants to know why the financial institution will not look into his claims. Erica Johnson has more in this Go Public investigation.
I am totally frustrated, totally angry.
Shakir Ahmed can't believe he's on the hook, $15,000 in debt, after someone made 10 transfers from his line of credit. A devastating loss, he says, almost 1/3 of his salary.
I am not like a high-income guy. We have mortgage, car payment, kids.
TD says his IP address was used, codes to approve the transactions sent. But Ahmed, who does payroll for the Maritime Coast Guard, says not so.
I did not receive anything.
Bank records show he usually only sends small transfers, never in the thousands, and not from his line of credit. Strong indicators the e-transfers were out of character, says cybersecurity expert Claudio Popa.
The argument being that he did this intentionally doesn't hold up. And if he did it negligently, then we have not been presented with the information.
Popa says Canada lags behind other countries for fraud protection, like the UK, Singapore, and Australia, where banks have to reimburse customers if they can't prove gross negligence. We asked Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne why the government ignored recent calls for similar protections from consumer groups, even the banking ombudsman. He didn't answer the question.
Well, we're going to be consulting.
TD wouldn't say what evidence it has Ahmed's account wasn't hacked and has started clawing back monthly payments from Ahmed, including interest. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime at cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. How you doing this morning? Thanks for starting your week with us on Information Radio on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube. Hopefully you've recovered after yesterday's heat, especially if you're walking in Pride. What a hot afternoon. Great turnout, though. This half hour on the program to Serious Matters, we have more information about a story that you may have heard in the news this morning. A fatal semi-truck crash in Brandon is igniting concern about so-called chameleon carriers. So these are trucking companies that jump from one province to another to avoid bad safety ratings. Coming up this half hour on the show, we will hear how experts say the latest case underscores why Canada needs a better way to crack down on bad actors in the trucking world. Stay tuned. The reporter, Bryce Hoy, who's been on this story, is going to join us live in studio for a live report. And as I mentioned, some more detail. For more details on other stories, Heather Wells is in this morning live. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, as Manitoba moves towards a ban on social media and artificial intelligence chatbots for those under the age of 16, a Winnipeg teacher wants to see guidelines from the province on teaching students about AI. Donovan Ponce is a grade 7 STEM teacher at General Wolfe, and he says education about what a chatbot is and how to use them responsibly is key. An emergency doctor says governments could be doing more to address a rise in drug overdoses. Health Canada says about 20 people die from opioid-related causes every day across the country. We'll hear more coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Abby has your forecast.
Yeah, the South will definitely be enjoying that beautiful stretch of summer weather today. Well, if we look up north, we're still seeing lingering showers and misty conditions in the Churchill area. But here in Winnipeg, we started the day with some cloudy conditions. The sun already clearing that out. We are warming up to 27 today. Current temperatures, we're sitting around 23 and expect a lovely day ahead. It's going to get warm at some point. The breeze will keep things, it's going to be breezy through the morning into the afternoon period, and then we'll see some clear and comfortable conditions overnight with temperatures dropping to about 12, 13 degrees. Similar conditions we're seeing across the southern regions. Temperatures already in the 20s. While up north, we're still looking at those showers close to Thompson and misty conditions in the Churchill area. Winnipeg right now, 23, heading to 27.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Sierra, how's the commute?
The commuter line's been pretty quiet this morning. Haven't been hearing much from the folks out there on the roads, but the Winnipeg Traffic Management Center is letting people know about St. Mary's Road approaching Vivian Avenue. Emergency crews are blocking the northbound middle and curb lane, so you want to keep left to pass there as they deal with a situation. Still a little bit of time left in the show, though, so if there is something that pops up on your commute, give me a call. The number's 204-788-3093.
Well, as I've been mentioning, late last month, a woman died after the driver of a semi-truck allegedly blew a stop sign in Brandon and hit her SUV. Manitoba Transportation Minister Lisa Naylor says the company at the center of this deadly crash lost its safety certificate in Manitoba years ago, but then set up shop in Alberta. Now, CBC Manitoba looked into the company's past, and the safety issue experts say that this case is highlighting. Here to talk about that is CBC reporter Bryce Hoy. Hi, Bryce.
Hi, Marcy.
So let's start with the company at the center of this case.
Right. So they were called Conquer Transport. They got started in the province in Manitoba in about 2017. So they get their first sort of ding by the province pretty early on for maintenance and other issues. They get this safety notice that's sent from the province to the company within the first few months. This is all according to documents that have been provided to us by the province. Now, they suggest the company's record significantly degrades over those next few years. And then by 2021, Manitoba pulls its safety certification in the province. Now, I reached the Manitoba-based owner-operator by phone last week. Paramjit Dhaliwal says he got out of the business after losing his safety certification about 4 years ago.
Always a safety officer stop my truck inspection. They're giving your one brake loose, one brake tight, belt loose, belt tight, lots of things because big machinery, lots of things. Something is wrong. Too much inspection. They said, no, you have to lose the safety rating. So I am fed up and close everything. Why taking this headache?
So talking there about those inspections, vehicle maintenance, he was saying, one brake tight, one brake was tight, loose, belt, I guess, on the truck. He says the company shut down. So what happened next?
So Dhaliwal says that he handed over the business to his son and daughter-in-law. And then they open up in Alberta under a slightly different name. I was alluding to this earlier, Conquer Transportation, as opposed to Conquer Transport, which is what they were registered as in Manitoba. Then they go on to rack up their own safety and maintenance violations over the past 4 years or so. Currently, they have among the worst safety ratings in Alberta. Now, only 225 of the about 18,000 trucking fleets registered to operate in Alberta, have a rating as bad as that or worse. So that means that they're in the bottom 2% or so when it comes to safety ratings in Alberta. And this is all according to this public carrier profile from Alberta's government, which I got to review. So I spoke with Robert Harper about this. He's the president of Alberta Motor Transport Association.
And it's not in the worst, but it's pretty bad, or as noted in the report. There's only, 225 worse than them. Once the investigation from Manitoba comes in, I'm sure it will hit the worst.
So the reason Harper predicts that that's going to happen is because under the safety rating system, a collision resulting in a fatality carries a lot of weight, as you can imagine. So he expects there could be other infractions also unearthed in the Manitoba investigation in Brandon.
So how can a company that had a spotty record in Manitoba then go set up shop in Alberta and then continue to operate in our province?
That's a good question. There's this longstanding issue in the industry. It's dubbed chameleon carriers or chameleon companies. These are companies that lose their safety certification in one jurisdiction, one province, and then they hop over to another one and re-register, sometimes under a slightly different name. So I spoke with Marc Cadieux about this. He's on the board of the Canadian Trucking Alliance.
These practices of chameleon companies is become obviously a great problematic on all the safety issues and putting at stake lives of the road users. They are obviously violating many infractions, or they're not eligible anymore in a province, so they just switch around, open another corporation and another province, and bring back the same approach. And the issue, as it happened in Brandon, is one that we commonly know throughout Canada.
Manitoba says they've been regularly in touch with their Albertan counterparts about this company's record since it re-registered there in 2022. Manitoba Transportation Minister Lisa Naylor wants the federal government to create a national database, some sort of way for the provinces to better coordinate, share info, and track this chameleon carrier issue.
So what happens next with the Brandon crash investigation then?
Right. So the trucker implicated here has been charged with dangerous driving causing death. So this case, it's still before the courts. This crash actually only happened at the end of May. So we're only a few weeks since then. I've been in touch with Alberta's Transportation Department. They say they are watching this case. And in a statement, a spokesperson told me that Alberta's working with the Brandon Police, with Manitoba's Motor Carrier Enforcement Unit. And they say officials will, quote unquote, take decisive action if they confirm Conquer was in fact implicated here. Now, what that means, we do not know yet. But I did speak with an expert on the trucking industry, Barry Prentice, about some of the systemic tracking gaps this case highlights. That he's the director of the Transport Institute at the U of M.
But when you have thousands of trucking companies, literally thousands, then being able to find out and police the bad apples, it gets really hard. Companies like that, which have accidents, if they have multiple accidents, there is a signal and clearly there is some kind of a rating system that already is identifying them. So it may be a matter of enforcement or more scrutiny for those sorts of trucking companies to be dealt with for the safety of the public, I guess you'd say.
So ultimately, though, under the current system, a company could, in theory, just set up shop again elsewhere in another Canadian jurisdiction. So that's why organizations, including the Manitoba Trucking Association and the Canadian Trucking Alliance, who we heard from earlier, they both back Manitoba Transport Minister's call for a national tracking system.
All right, Bryce, thank you for your reporting and digging into this.
Thank you.
That's Bryce Hoy live with us in our CBC studio. We're a CBC reporter and MIT Night Science Journalism Fellow. You can read his story at cbc.ca/Manitoba and also read the stories of our initial reporting on what happened in that crash in Brandon.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
8:21 a.m. is the time right now, 23 degrees. We're the hot spot in the province. That's Winnipeg's temperature as we head for 27. And your morning commute's been good so far. So 788-3093. Tomorrow, watch for bikes. It's Bike to Work Day. So you're going to want to watch for maybe an increasing number of cyclists on our roadways. Well, you might be watching Newsnet right now. And if you are watching CBC Newsnet live, then you're seeing, I just saw a hand reach out of a car that's moving and waving at crowds that are starting to come together. This is Canada's next Governor General. On her way to the ceremony this morning, Louise Arbour will be sworn in at 9 o'clock. Our program, CBC regular program here, programming will be preempted. So from 9 to 10:30, you can hear it live right here on 89.3 FM, what's happening with the ceremony. Arbour comes to the role with a very impressive resume. She's former Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. She served as UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. She's prosecuted war crimes in Rwanda and former Yugoslavia for the International Criminal Court in The Hague. The CBC's Rosemary Barton is on site this morning, and she spoke to someone who knows Arbour very well, her daughter, Emily Tamman.
Something that I've taken away from her career, I would say, is that she's worked so hard and so well in every job that she's had that it's always led to a really unexpected next opportunity, I think I would say. Like, she's not someone who had a really detailed 5, 10, 15-year plan and was aiming towards, some next particular high office. Yeah. Very much like this. Things, she would describe it as just things falling under her plate or just being in the right place at the right time. But like, my analysis of it is that a lot of it just comes from people really love working with her. Yep. And she does a good job, in the jobs that she's had. And so it leads to these other things. But each one of them has been like a complete 180 in a lot of ways. When she went to the UN the first time to do war crimes prosecutions, I mean, that was completely unlike anything she'd ever done before. And I would say that's kind of true of almost every job she's had before and since. So
I think in an interview she actually said she's never been interviewed for a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're okay. But if you're doing your job so well that people offer you other jobs.
Yeah, and just I think like when you build relationships that are authentic, and you're not kind of climbing desperately for the next big thing because it's what you think you want to see on your resume, but rather you work well with people, you work hard, and you do a good job. Yeah.
Obviously that influenced you too. You're a lawyer, you're a human rights advocate. Yeah. How much of that did she sort of parent down into your family? How much of that was part of the conversation for you guys?
I think it's at the dinner table, you're talking about probably different issues than sometimes other people are talking about.
I would say so.
At their tables. Yeah. And but at the same time, like, my siblings aren't in the profession and there was no pressure on them to pursue that as a career path. It was something that I was drawn to, I think, just because I had an affinity for it. Yeah. And but our house was very much about like following your passion and doing something you love, because your work is a big part of what you do, and if you don't love it, then it's not the right thing for you. And so it's not that I felt pressure or like a push from my parents to go into law, but I do think probably there was some influence there just in terms of talking to my mom over the years.
Part of being the Governor General, I think, is listening, getting to know Canadians, but Canadians also have to get to know Louise Arbour. What would you want them to know in these first couple of days?
I think just that she's a regular person like everyone else. And it really is true. Like friends of mine growing up, they just find this all so too much because they just know her as like, a mom in sweatpants on the weekend kind of thing. Yeah. And so in that way, like she doesn't have airs. She is a really genuinely good listener. And she's had the opportunity in the course of her career to hear from people from all walks of life, from people that have experienced a lot of hardship and trauma in really, really difficult personal circumstances to heads of state and advocates. And so I think she will be really good at that part of the job. And she's someone who, when you meet her, you feel at ease immediately. And so I think she'll really have the capacity to build trust with people quite easily just because of her temperament and demeanor.
So that was Emily Taman talking about her mother, Louise Arbour. Arbour will be sworn in as Canada's Governor General this morning. We're watching with one eye on Newsnet Live, carrying the coverage. She's already on her way to the ceremony. CBC Radio 1 will have live coverage of the ceremony. Matt Galloway and Catherine Cullen will anchor that. It starts shortly, 35 minutes at 9 o'clock our time. And if you want to check out Newsnet right now, you'll see the Mounties and the Red Surge on horseback all getting ready, as well as Rosemary Barton right now in conversation with former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. So Louise Arbour will become the next Governor General of Canada. It is coming up, as I mentioned, to 8:26 now, and we have time to slide in a little bit of music from someone who's going to be playing Folk Fest. We're at the time of year we're already talking about those performers. This is Fontaine. She's playing Folk Fest Thursday, July 9th. If you want to check it out, here she is this morning with Good Buddy.
To a cliff. My head's a bit crazy, but I know it's fine by your side. Gentle morning, mumble talking. Late rainy night, cold walking. If your end in mine, it's hard to be said all the time. So cover me up, spin me around, tell me you're not gonna leave. But taking it slow, but I already know you're a good buddy to me. Swaying in your living room, you already know that I love you. Let's go where the sea meets the sky. And cover me up, spin me around, tell me you're not gonna leave. Taking it slow, but I already know you're a good buddy to me. Cover me up, spin me around, tell me you're not gonna leave. But taking it slow, but I already know you're a good buddy to me. You're a good buddy to me. You're a good buddy to me.
Fun times, Fontaine and Good Buddy hitting the stage of the Winnipeg Folk Festival on Thursday, July 9th. We're kind of in the window where we can talk Folk Fest already, right? We're a month out or so. Let's get into what's happening on Radio Noon today. We're certainly in the window to find out what's happening on the call-in, and Marjorie Dalhouse has popped in. Hi.
Well, hi, Marcy. We're asking you today, what is something that you didn't finish or that you failed at that you want to go back and
finish? Because we're going to be talking to a Manitoban who's raising money for cancer research, cancer care. Last year, he tried to swim across Lake Winnipeg, couldn't quite finish it. So he's like, you know what? I got to try and finish this for personal satisfaction, for a goal that I set for myself. We've all done it before where we've started something, haven't quite finished. Do you regret it? Are you going to go back? Maybe you did finish it. So we want to hear your stories.
My university degree.
Really?
Do you know what? I didn't know I could I got into Red River for a Creecom for a program there. I didn't know I could put that on hold. I would still keep my entrance at the time and I could have finished my final few credits at university for my degree.
Yeah.
And so I didn't finish. I just went to Red River and I got in. And then they honored some of my credits anyway, but I started working like right away. So every once in a while I'm like, it might be nice to just go back and officially have that degree.
I think it's happened to everybody where we've started something and we second guess ourselves. Should we finish it? Or
interesting guest you've got. All right, thanks, March.
Thanks, Marcy.
So that's this afternoon. The call-in starts at 12:15 right here on Radio Noon. It is time now for your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 8:30. The sun is starting to shine. It's 23 degrees as the sky clears out. It's going to get windy, south 30 gusting to 50 this afternoon, and a high today of 27. A Winnipeg teacher says he wants to see guidelines from the province on when to start educating students about artificial intelligence. Manitoba plans to ban social media and AI chatbots for young people under 16. Donovan Ponce is a grade 7 STEM teacher at General Wolfe School. He says chatbots are found in many apps and websites.
We can't just ban and not discuss AI, so I would like to see some sort of plan as to when should we start introducing AI in our classrooms, even just as educating students about AI.
Right now, Ponce teaches students how they can incorporate chatbots used by the division responsibly. He says he has seen them with things like generating project ideas and simplifying texts. Experts are calling for a crackdown on so-called chameleon carriers after a fatal Brandon crash. Conquer Transport lost its safety license in Manitoba in 2021. The following year, it registered in Alberta. Alberta recently assessed it as one of the highest risks of more than 18,000 carriers. One of its drivers allegedly failed to stop at a stop sign, hitting an SUV in Brandon, killing a 49-year-old woman. Mark Cadieux is a board member at the Canadian Trucking Alliance. He says there have been many fatal crashes involving chameleon carriers in Canada.
They just switch around, open another corporation and another province and bring back the same approach, negliging their maintenances, having not well-trained drivers.
Manitoba Transportation Minister Lisa Naylor is calling on Ottawa to take action against companies with repeated infractions and to create a national database where a loss of safety certification would be flagged. Winnipeg police say there is no easy fix when it comes to open drug use on Portage Avenue around Gordon Bell High School. Recently, officials from the head of the Winnipeg School Division to the Premier have expressed concerns about the number of people using drugs in front of businesses and that school. Inspector Jen McKinnon oversees the Community Support Unit with Winnipeg Police. She says in most cases, the people using on the streets are homeless, which is a social issue, not a criminal one.
The peak was maybe a year or two ago in terms of the number of deaths, but we're still very close to that. And we're seeing a new spike in number of overdoses. Certainly, we're worried about this year because the number of overdoses is going up, and we'll see what the numbers show at the end of the year if the deaths are going up too.
And that is a Vancouver emergency doctor. Here now is Inspector Jen McKinnon.
Obviously, if it's open drug use in front of the school, we have to deal with that. But in regards to Gordon Bell, it's connecting with some of the nonprofit resources that are in the area and collaborating with them in a way that maybe the Winnipeg Police Service hasn't done before and working together.
McKinnon says it is difficult to ask people to move along when there's nowhere for them to go, but she says police are committed to working with social agencies. Well, people in parts of western Manitoba with tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings last night are breathing sighs of relief this morning. Environment Canada says no twisters touched down. Still, powerful storms rolled through areas around Virden and Swan River. The Weather Office says near Sinclair, north of Melita, wind gusts were clocked at 112. Golf ball-sized hail was also reported near the Kanupa-Wakpa Dakota First Nation near Roblin. The storm also dumped heavy rain of up to 130 millimeters in the Minitonas area, and highways 366, 268, and 10 near Swan River, east of Swan River, are closed because of flooding. Well, at least 32 people have been killed by an earthquake in the Philippines. More than 130 others are injured. Children screaming as they huddle outside their school on the island of Mindanao, the tremor shaking them from side to side. The 7.8 magnitude quake struck off the coast of the southern island. There have been more than 100 aftershocks, and dozens of buildings have collapsed. Canada's next Governor-General is being installed this morning. Former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will be the 31st representative of the Crown, replacing Mary Simon. Arbour will be sworn in during a special ceremony in the Senate chamber in Ottawa. Arbour, who is 79, will give her first address to the nation, in which she is expected to outline her priorities for her time in office. And CBC Radio will have special coverage of the ceremony starting at 9 o'clock Central. That's in 25 minutes from now. You can find more Manitoba news updated throughout your day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Last quick look at what's happening in our morning commute with Sierra Sanders.
Yeah, Marcy, we heard Heather mention a couple of highway closures there due to flooding just east of Swan River, but Winnipeg Traffic Management Centre was keeping an eye on St. Mary's Road approaching Vivian Avenue. That situation has been cleared. Emergency crews have cleared what was going on there, so all lanes are open for traffic there.
All right. Thanks, Sierra. Also, thanks to Sophia Peralta-Barone, who's an associate producer with work in the show today. Reporters Bryce Hoy and Alana Cole. In our news department, Heather Wiles, Joni Nicolo, Megan Ketchison, and Darren Bernhardt on the web. Our producers, who are Nellie Gonzalez and Leif Larson, as well as our Studio 15 control room crew, our live crew. Sierra Sanders, who we just heard from, as well as Darren Marash, who produces our live stream, and Mr. Abby Adiemi, who's got our last look at the forecast.
Yeah, Marcy, those cloudy conditions are clearing out as the province enjoys a warm and breezy start to the week. We will see highs close to 27 in the southern regions, while up north we should see about 18 degrees in some areas, and some regions will get into the 20s. Winnipeg, we're getting to 27 today.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everyone. Thanks for listening to CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Next, it would be the Currents, but you'll get part of that, and then it's all preempted for the Governor General swearing-in ceremony, which officially begins at 9 o'clock in Ottawa.